one of the best fighters I've ever seen.
The lightweight division belongs to Charles Oliveira.
That was insane. Just too good.
The best female combat athlete of all time.
One of the baddest men on the planet. Huge win for Pena.
It is your official weighing show for UFC 10. I'm Adam Catterall. Pleasure as always to be in your company, and it's always a pleasure to be in the company of these two gentlemen, Nick Peet and the Hall of Famer himself, Mr. Michael Bisping. Now, before these two start, all right, yes, I am living in 1986. You can see that I'm a little bit pixelated there, and my shirt really is that horrendous before Bisping has a go at me, okay?
Well, I was going to say, what's coming from 1986? The Wi-Fi, the shirts, the fashion, you know what I mean? Because I know you're in Dubai, living it large, giving it the big ones all over social, but Nick is still dressing like the middle-aged to / older man that he is. Midlife crisis Catterall over there in Dubai. My God, get a grip of yourself.
Michael, you know how it works. You know who gets the better budget. The budget goes on the talent. That's why Nick's got better Wi-Fi. I obviously can't afford myself to get decent clothes. That's why I'm dressed like Magnum PI to do the show with everybody this afternoon. Hopefully, the Wi-Fi holds up so therefore we can have a time over the next couple of hours. I'll let you take the mick at me a little bit later on in the show, but boys, we are a bit pressed for time. We've got 2 minutes before the scales hit in Las Vegas. Mike, I know that you've been over there this week. We've got two fantastic world title fights, obviously, to preview for UFC 269, as Charles Oliveira defends his crown against Dustin Poirier, and Amanda Nunes brings her belt to the octagon, and it's Juliana Pena who has big ambitions of becoming the champion. We'll start with the main event, shall we? Let's get stuck straight into it. Charles Oliveira looking absolutely dapper at the press conference yesterday, as did Dustin Poirier, in a little bit more of a relaxed look. Mike, you've spent a bit of time with both in and around Las Vegas this week. Give us the lowdown, my man, on this fight.
Well, first of all, what a way to finish the year. But yeah, you're right. I spoke to Dustin Poirier this week. He kindly gave us some time. He was in high spirits. He felt great. He said the weight cut's going better than ever. He really feels like this is his destiny. And he truly feels that he's going to go out there and put on a performance of a lifetime and get the knockout. He says quite simply, Charles Oliveira cannot stand with me. If he tries to do that, he's going to get knocked out. But if we see here, Michael Chandler, a guy that can take a punch, a guy that can bang, a guy that can wrestle, got knocked out in the second round. And of course, Charles Oliveira, as we know, the most submissions. And I know we say that all the time, but it really is an incredible record to own. Out of every jiu-jitsu specialist that stepped foot in the octagon, he has been more successful and of them all, and he's knocking people out as well. I can't wait.
Listen, I'm pretty confident that we are going to get plenty of opportunity during this weighing show to spitball, to talk about the facts and the stats around that fight. Again, I'm just looking at the clock and I'm looking at Las Vegas because of my poor Wi-Fi. That's why we're slightly late, so I want to rush through it. Nick, you're up with the second fight, that bantamweight clash between Amanda Nunes and Juliana Pena, the greatest female mixed martial artist of all time. I know you've got love for Shevchenko, but you've got to concede that it's Nunes. Pena's up. She's won 2 of her last 4. Has she got enough to get the job done against the Guat?
Well, listen, this game's all about, talking the talk and backing it up and walking the walk. And I've got to give credit to Juliana Pena. She came alive at that press conference earlier in the week. She's here to win. If not, she's certainly here to rattle the cage of Amanda Nunes. And listen, we've all watched enough UFC to know that Amanda Nunes is a very special athlete, a simultaneous 2-weight champion in the UFC. Is a lot harder to do than it is to say it, put it that way. And she's kind of running through the roster, as we discussed previously. But Juliana Pena's here on merits, and she's here to win. She's talking the right type of game. She's saying that Amanda Nunes has been avoiding her. She's saying that the fight should have happened at UFC 200, that she's been handpicking her opponents rather than taking on Juliana Pena. She's either going to pay the price for that tomorrow, or maybe she has got under Nunes' skin, and tell you what, maybe she's rattled her a little bit.
Nearly as rattled as my shirt, boys. Listen, Mike, you just touched upon something there. What a wonderful way to finish a fantastic year, another fantastic year for the UFC, and what a wonderful way to finish with 2 fantastic title fights. But that's not just the narrative that we're going with, because we've got some absolute bangers. Main card, prelims, early prelims, 15 fights to get excited about, mate. And they've started their walks to the scales.
Yep, here's the first one tonight. Juliana Pena, or this morning, should I say. Juliana Pena, nice and early.
135, the official weight for Juliana Pena.
You know, you touched on something there, Nick. Her yesterday at that press conference, she was on fire. I mean, she truly believes in herself. I think she did rattle Amanda Nunes, but I'm not sure if that's a good idea. I think she definitely annoyed her greatly. Amanda looked kind of, very, very angry and annoyed and wants
All right, next fighter to the scale is the man around whom this fight card was built. The undisputed UFC lightweight champion, Charles "Do Bronx" Oliveira.
Guys, we say this all the time. Title fights, title holders, title challengers, always the first out, showing that professionalism, Mike.
Absolutely. You want more time to recover.
155 for Charles Oliveira.
And stepping on the scale this early means you've had a professional camp, everything's going to plan, and no wonder he's got a big smile on his face. And you're right, he did look very dapper at the press conference yesterday. I think he won the best dressed award for the end of the
All right, next we make way for the greatest of all time, the UFC's bantamweight and featherweight champion, the Lioness, Amanda Nunes.
Look at this, the title.
All business.
The title fights are all business. Juliana Pena already through, just in case you joined us slightly late. Is the champ, Amanda Nunes, looking to go 13 on the spin. She's already done 12. Last defeat against Kat Zingano in 2014.
Yeah, and that was a different Amanda Nunes.
134 and a half for the champion Amanda Nunes. Your co-headliner is now official.
Her conditioning is so much better. She's almost a different fighter. So Juliana Pena, she better be careful.
Next athlete to the scale is the other man around whom this fight card was built. The former UFC interim lightweight champion and the number one contender, Dustin the Diamond Poirier.
Look at this, ladies and gents. We're nearly already home, Nick. Title fight's done. Everybody else has had to wait.
3 minutes in. The title fights are nailed on. Tell you what did surprise me earlier this week, or yesterday, I should say, at the media day at the head-to-head. How big was Charles Oliveira compared to Poirier?
154 and a half. The official weight for Dustin Poirier. Your main event for UFC 269 is official.
There you go. Since 242, randomly in the Middle East, where we are bringing you half of this show from, Dustin Poirier, beaten by Khabib, was obviously a distraught man. The way that he's turned it around over the last 2 years, Nick, has been absolutely outrageous, and he could crown his career on Saturday night.
Yeah, exactly. TKOs over Gaethje, Eddie Alvarez, two finishes of Conor McGregor. That's the rye.
All right, next athlete to the scale in the UFC's flyweight division, Aaron Cold-Blooded Blanchfield.
But it means nothing if he doesn't get the belt around his waist. He said it himself. Doesn't matter all the money in the world, but legacy. He won't want to go down as the Conor McGregor killer. He'll want to go down as the guy that was the UFC lightweight champion. It means everything to him.
125 and a half for Aaron Blanchfield.
Yeah,
the two best guys in the world, Mike. The number one and the two in the world, head to head.
Yeah, just to touch on what you said there, and I know people giving me a lot.
All right, next athlete to the scale, and it is great to have this man back in the fold. The number 7 ranked UFC featherweight contender, Josh Emmett.
But I can give perspective. Me winning the belt at the end of my career like that made it all worthwhile. Don't get me wrong. It would have been worthwhile anyway. I made some money. I turned my life around. I gave to my family a lifestyle that we always wanted. But from a personal goal achievement standpoint, finishing your career.
Official weight 145 and a half for Josh Emmett.
That is what every fighter dreams of. When they first walk into a gym, when they first put on a pair of boxing gloves, when they first see UFC or boxing, whatever it is on TV, they think, wow, one day I could be a champion. So it's a little personal thing that was not a little personal thing. It's a big personal thing that Dustin Poirier, when he's done, he can sit back, he can lie on his bed, he can sit at the bar stool, whatever it is, he can talk to his kids.
All right, next fighter to the scale competing in a prelim you can see live on Fight Pass and ESPN Plus in the bantamweight division. He is Tony Kelly.
Tony Kelly coming through. He's taking on Randy Costa. Just on Dustin Poirier mentality. Mike, obviously, you sat down with him this week. I know that people can watch that on YouTube.
136, the official weight for Tony Kelly.
But how did he seem? Where's his head at going into this big fight this weekend?
He seemed happy. He said, the weight cut's going great. I'm only 10 pounds over. He says, so that's light for me. So that may be why Charles looks so much bigger than him. But as I say, he seemed quietly confident. He wasn't overly talkative. You know what I mean?
All right, next fighter to the scale, competing on the pay-per-view main card, the 6th-ranked flyweight in the world, Catterall.
He was smiling, he was happy, but he was also kind of, you know, he wasn't like brimming with energy and stuff like that. He was just, you know, it's like he'd been here a million times before. Of course he has. 2 huge fights with Conor this year. Spotlight never gets bigger than that. So he's used to these big moments, and he was taking it in his stride.
Official weight 125 pounds for Catterall.
I know that we're talking quite a lot, obviously, about Dustin Poirier, Nick, but the rise of Charles Oliveira, the way that he's been handling his business of recent times, 9 straight wins, 8 of those coming by the way of finishing.
All right, next fighter to the scale, charged with kicking off the pay-per-view main card in the UFC's bantamweight division, the unranked Sugar Sean O'Malley.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. Trying to talk over John Anik, hard enough at the moment. I'm trying to wait. Let's get O'Malley weighed in. Obviously, this kid's a shooting star. Make sure he makes weight. I'm sure he won't have any issues.
Official weight 135.5 for Sugar Sean O'Malley.
But yeah, in terms of the champion, sensational form, 9-0 run, you know, incredible wins, 7 bonuses in there as well. You know, breaking records left, right, and centre, more finishes, more submissions than anybody else in the UFC.
All right, moving on now to the UFC Women's Flyweight Division as we welcome Miranda Maverick.
Completely through the roof, and that's what you expect from not only a form fighter but a champion fighter. And he fights like a champion. He looks like a champion, as Mike said. Best dressed guy at the press conference. He's carrying himself like a champion. He's got that inner belief, and that's why I think, for me personally, he starts as favourite against Dustin.
Miranda Maverick here, just waiting for a call.
125, the official weight for Miranda Maverick.
Gents, a moment or two ago, we saw Sean O'Malley coming through. He's taking on Rafael Fazeev, which kicks off the main card on BT Sport. Criticized in the past for not taking on top.
All right, next fighter to the scale in the UFC's middleweight division. He's your boy, Eric Anders.
Big opportunity for Sean O'Malley to shut some critics up maybe at the weekend, Mike.
Yeah, and it's a big opportunity for Juliana Pena to show who he is and announce himself to the world stage, because Paiva is a tough guy. Sean O'Malley, though, truly believes in himself. You know, you see some people sit down and they talk the talk.
The official weight for Eric Anders.
But they don't necessarily believe it. Sean O'Malley knows what he's capable of, and that's where the confidence comes from. It's not fake bravado. He's doing the work, and he's happy to take the long route round. He's happy to take the long road because he knows he can go through these guys, or he believes he can.
Scale,
of course,
just so happens to be
anything can happen.
In the middleweight division, Andre Sergipano Muniz.
These guys are flying through this today. John Anik, let me get a word in edgeways, for crying out loud. All you fighters, back off a second. We're trying to do a weigh-in show. My God.
Listen, with my Wi-Fi in this shirt,
185.5 in a 1970s shirt. Nick Peet looks like a history teacher. This lot won't let us talk. I mean, what is the point?
What is going on? How dare they?
I'm actually thankful of it. I'm really thankful of it.
Right,
with this Copacabana shirt and the amount of Wi-Fi problems I've got going on here, quicker that John Anik can get this done, the better.
Talking about avoided fighters.
As you say, Mike.
Here comes Ryan Hall.
Go on, Adam.
I was just saying, as you say, you were in the middle of a flow there when John Anik was interrupting you.
Yeah, no, but O'Malley, you know, listen, it is dangerous to take
145.5 for the Wizard, Ryan Hall.
Unranked contenders. A lot of people, they want to get to the ranked guys as fast as possible. They want to get into title contention as quick as possible because, you know, this isn't true, but it's kind of true. It's a numbers game. And the more times you're going in there with the best people in the world, the more chance you've got
in the UFC's flyweight division, the savage Julian Robertson.
Of zigging when you should have zagged, bobbed when you should have weaved. But he's so confident in his ability to go through these guys, take the long road, as I said, and get into title contention with the experience required to become a champion.
Official weight 125 pounds for Julian Robertson.
One thing becoming a star and getting in there and getting the big fights, but you want to win the big fights, you know. So I like the approach that Sean's doing, to be honest.
All right, next up, a prelim you can see live on ESPN2 in the middleweight division. Bruno Silva.
Bruno Silva on his way. We've only what are we? We're 11 minutes in to the weigh-in, and we are rattling through. For those that have only just joined us, maybe joined us late, the 2 title fights, the main and co-main event, done, dusted, in the bank, and they are already at the buffet. Sensational work from everybody involved in that.
186 pounds for Bruno Silva.
And there's Bruno Silva, who takes on Jordan Wright, which kicks off the prelims on BT Sport. Come join us from 1 o'clock for that. Is Anik going to give you a break? I thought he was going to give you a little bit of a break there, Mike. I thought he was going to give you a break so you could get stuck in, but it looks like there's more fights.
No.
All right, next fighter to the scale in the UFC's bantamweight division, repping Taunton, Massachusetts. Please welcome Randy the Zohan Costa.
Mm-hmm. Randy the Zohan. Let's go, Randy.
I like it.
The Zohan. Why does he call himself the Zohan? Do we know? I mean, obviously, it obviously relates to that movie with Adam Sandler, but
maybe he's a part-time hairdresser.
134 and a half, the official weight for Randy Costa.
Maybe is he?
You are just tuning in. Maybe. If you are just tuning in, we are available for you on social media as well. You can see all ways of getting in contact with the show, just scrolling along the bottom of the screen right now. So if you've got questions, if you've got talking points that you would like us to tackle, this is where we normally tackle them. Obviously, we do our preview show, we do our review show. But when we do this weigh-in program, we normally have a little bit of time. It looks like we're just maybe a slight lull in the action there so we can get stuck into some of the talking points. If you want to get in contact, you can do via all the social media outlets, Twitter,
he is
Instagram,
the Beverly
get
Hills
stuck in.
Ninja, Jordan Wright.
Jordan Wright coming back again.
Jordan Wright.
Yeah, it's hard to have a conversation, when it's stop and start. But
when they're rattling.
Good for them. I love to see it.
Official weight for Jordan Wright.
He's a nice guy, Jordan Wright. A real proper traditional martial artist. He's had some mixed results, but when he's on form, he's very good. But yeah, as I say, a proper traditional martial artist. And we got more people coming through, so I'll just shut up right there.
I've got a few tweets coming through to my own personal Twitter here with people wanting us to have the conversation about Michael Bisping stirring it up between Dominic Cruz and Daniel Cormier. We'll talk about it. Don't worry. We will talk about it. We will get there. We're just rattling through some of the guys and girls coming through, obviously, for the UFC.
Hark at him.
269
Hark at him. Oh, I've got stuff coming through to my personal Twitter account because I'm such a big deal. My God. Listen, I can go to my Twitter as well, Adam, and I guarantee I've got more, but I don't talk about it on air. Guys, people will not stop hounding me on social media. I'm so popular. I'm trying to do a show.
Do you know something? This is your chance now, mate. This is your chance. You know that my Wi-Fi is from 1986. This is your chance. If you want to get the kicks in, this is it, because you know that I can't come back. I can't. There's no shot here today. It has begun, I can tell. Dear. When I'm back, listen, when I'm back in the UK in the Catterall basement, you're getting it, Bisping, right? I'm coming both barrels. I'm coming with your bazooka next time, sunshine. So you better watch yourself.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Anyway, as you can see, it's on the screen there. Mike, talk us through this, because obviously this happened throughout the course of the week. We all saw Dominic Cruz's reaction in the press conference about DC. He's referring to him being muted. Those two boys were having a bit of a chat. In you come sunshine, stage left, and just stirred the pot a little bit more.
No, I didn't stir the pot, actually. It was quite the opposite. I went in there to relieve some comedy, to give some comedy relief, because, Dominic said what he said at the press conference. I don't agree with it. I don't think he should have said it, right? But I was there doing the interviews for BT Sport, Nunes, Dustin, and O'Malley. Find them on YouTube, of course, guys. Good interviews. And when I was there, I was grabbing a little YouTube content as well. And we were done. We were finished. I said, DC was there. Let's go chat to DC a minute. So we went back in. And Cruz and DC were sitting down. And I didn't know what he'd said, right? But I thought this was an interview for ESPN. So I was just kind of watching. I could sense things were getting a little testy. Do you know what I mean? And they were starting. And then Charlie, shall remain nameless, some guy said, like, Mike, you better get in there. You better get in there. I said, he said, this isn't good. This isn't good. It's getting nasty. It's turning sour. You know what I mean? He said, Mike, get in there and kind of calm it down a little bit. So I went in there and, just to lighten the mood. And that's exactly what happened. All of a sudden they're laughing and all the rest of it, because DC was a little pissed off. Cruz was a little overstepping the boundaries. He should not be saying stuff like that on TV, so they had a bone to pick. But I wasn't stirring the pot. I went in there and calmed it down. As I said, put me in the Middle East. I will solve all the problems. I mean, look at that. DC was ready to kill Cruz. At the end of it, they shook hands and hugged. Thank you, Michael, is what everyone should be saying.
Well done, mate. Well done. Listen, Nick, is that the danger? Is that the danger of maybe people in the world of commentary still being active fighters? Because let's be honest, fighters do take some comments that come their way a little bit personally. I don't think they should. I think it should be water off a duck's back at the end of the day. But they do sometimes take it a little bit personally. If you're working in the media,
all right, next fighter to the
even
scale,
more
competing in our feature prelim
do you see it like that, Nick? Or do you see
in the UFC's
something
division,
in a different direction?
Ninth ranked Dan 50K Ige.
Ooh, Dan Ige on the scales. No, exactly. Yeah, I get what you're saying, and I don't think Dominic Cruz is long for competition anyway. So
the official
I think it was
for Dan Ige.
Bizarre comment to come out with, kind of having a go at someone you work alongside. Like, I would never publicly tell people what I really think about you. I just do it behind your back, like most people do. That's the honourable
to me
thing to
all
do
the
these
time.
days.
The text that I have from Nick, sorry, Nick, go on.
Just during the show. I know.
Completely.
Yeah, but you know what? To be honest, I mean, listen, I like Cruz a lot. He's a great guy, but he is one of those guys. He's a prickly guy. And I'll tell you what, if anything, I don't respect what he said. I don't like that. I do believe that should be kept for closed doors. But he didn't try and squirm out of it. He stood there and looked DC right in the face and owned it. So, in his mind, he was entitled to say those things. And I guess it is a free world or a free country, or we live in a certain part of the free world, so he can say whatever he wants. I thought DC handled it well. I thought DC kept his cool, because I'm not sure if I would have done, if I'm honest. I might have had some more choice words to say. I would have said, what the hell are you doing? If you want to say something, don't do that. But yeah, it is what it is. Who cares? I got a lot of views on my YouTube channel. Nice one, boys. Yeah.
It was like it reminded me of a scene from, it was a proper 80s sitcom scene, wasn't it? Where like the Fonz comes in. Hey, Fonzie! Fonzarella!
Well, look, someone did that edit, didn't they? And it's so funny. It's like when your favorite character appears on the sitcom and I walk in and they both start laughing. And then there was a laugh track in the background. I must have watched that 100 times because it was funny. It was hilarious. Whoever made that edit, shout out to you. Well done. But still, they're all good. They're all good. I was just kind of concerned if the UFC would have any kind of issue with it, because it's not the most professional look if the UFC commentators arguing amongst one another. But one of the members of the media asked Dana about it yesterday, and he just kind of laughed and said, well, I guess he better do his research, so all good there. And I'm sure DC and Cruz, they're fine. Listen, you spend any time around Dominic Cruz, you kind of get used to it. Do you know what I mean? He is like that. That's what he does. And he's just water off a duck's back
best
eventually.
in the world in his division. 8th ranked UFC bantamweight contender, the young Punisher, Pedro Munoz.
And here's the guy he's fighting.
Yeah. I'm really excited for this fight. It's an interesting clash of styles because Dominic, as we know, light on the feet, moves everywhere, very fast, long in the tooth, though. Pedro Munoz, a bit more flat-footed,
official weight
heavy hands, the man can bang.
135.5 for Pedro Munoz.
And this is going to be a telltale fight for Dominic Cruz. In some ways, there's a lot of pressure on him here. Because this could be, there's two doors he can walk through. One that leads down the path to retirement, and the other door goes to a path maybe back to a title, maybe to one last run, maybe to say to everybody, hey, my career isn't quite over just yet. So it's almost a career-defining crossroads type of fight. But it's a tough fight because if you lose to Pedro Munoz, it doesn't necessarily mean you can't cut it anymore. He's beaten many top flight competition, top flight athletes and fighters. So, but that will be the narrative if Dominic loses.
It's a sign of a stacked card, isn't it, Nick? When Pedro Munoz and Dominic Cruz, they're not even the top of the prelims. They're on the prelims, but they're not the top of the prelims. 269 is off the.
It is. It's absolutely stacked to bits. The entire card is brilliant. Not just this main card, as you say, the prelims, loads of good fights there. And this is one that I picked out in the preview show for a reason, because as Mike's just said, I agree with Mike in terms of Dominic Cruz. That way is out of the UFC forever and on the microphone. And that way is a potential future title shot, maybe later in 2022. But I also think that applies to Pedro Munoz as well. The guy's been around for a long time. He's changed multiple gyms now. He's reinvented himself. It's kind of now or never at this stage in his career. And okay, Dominic Cruz is a former 2-time champion, so there's no shame in losing to him. But in losing to Dominic Cruz at this stage of Pedro Munoz's career, is going to probably see him certainly tumble out of the top 10, fringe 15. It's a long way back at this stage in his career. So I think they're both staring down the barrel of a retirement gun, whoever loses anyway.
Speaking of frosty moments, in fact, I'll come back to my frosty moments in a minute. We've got a little bit of a thing on the screen. Sadly, I'm pixelated here, boys. So if you want to pick up that question, we've got one there that's aimed at all of us.
It says, this is to all of us here, is Dustin a Hall of Famer if he loses and never becomes the champion? Which is a great question, because I think a lot of people correlate being in the Hall of Fame with being a champion. But I don't think that's written in stone. That is not a rule. And for me personally, and I'll let you go next, Nick. For me personally, I still think he's a Hall of Fame worthy. You know, the people that he's beaten, the career that he's had, the longevity of the career. When you go down his list of names that he's beaten, you know, the performances that he puts on, even against lower level guys. Not that Dan Hooker's a lower level guy, but that fight with Dan Hooker was a fight of the year. Justin Gaethje, Anthony Pettis, Eddie Alvarez, Conor McGregor twice, becoming interim champion against Max Holloway, losing to Khabib, and now fighting for the belt. You know, you put all that together, when he does hang up the gloves, which he said will be in the next 2-3 years, and he's going to slow down his tempo of his fights. He's not going to be doing 3 a year. It'll be more like 1, sometimes 2. But I do believe that when it's all said and done, Dustin Poirier will be in the Hall of Fame. Nick Peet, what do you say?
Yeah, listen, I understand where that notion of you've got to be a champion to be in the Hall of Fame kind of comes from, but you've got to look at a body of work. You know, I always kind of pay reference when talking about the greatest or Hall of Famers and legends. I always pay reference to the greatest of all time from boxing, Muhammad Ali. And when people talk about Muhammad Ali and his career, yes, there's the fight of the centuries in there and the rumbles of the jungle and these incredible moments and reinventing himself as a fighter on 3 or 4 occasions throughout his career. But and also a big important part of the greatest of all time conversation is what he did outside of the sport and how he transcended the sport of boxing and what he did to promote the sport of boxing as well and the amount of eyeballs he brought to it. And let's face it, Dustin Poirier, even if he never becomes full UFC champion, he has been an incredible asset to the UFC and the sport of mixed martial arts. He's been nothing but a fantastic ambassador for the sport throughout his entire career. And even now with his philanthropy work and everything else, you know, these are the kind of people these are the role models, the poster boys of the sport that we need when we're still only 3 decades into existence. So yeah, absolutely, Dustin Poirier's Hall of Fame for me. Never mind the fact that he's got his own chili sauce too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting what you say there because, sorry, Adam, go ahead, my friend.
I was just going to say, hopefully that answered this question, but if you've got more on it, Mike, go for it, man.
No, I was just going to say, you're absolutely right what you said about his philanthropic endeavors, shall we say, because he's even inspired me. You know, this week I was looking at what he did and the work he does, and even Charles Oliveira, the work he does back in the favelas, you know, and it inspired me. So I've got a little foundation in the works now. I'm like flipping neck. I need to do something also. Do you know what I mean? So shout out Dustin Poirier for making me realize that I haven't given enough back. Stay tuned. Something's in the works, guys. Thank you, Dustin and Charles, for making me feel bad. I was sitting there. I'm like, hold on a minute. They're doing so much. I need to give back a bit more. But it's true, though, because they do give back a lot to the sport and to their local areas as well. So well done, you guys.
There you go. The DJ Mikey B School in Clitheroe is coming soon. Keep your ears and eyes open for that little bad boy. Now then, PT Editor, there's something for you here, Sunshine. The commissioner of the UFC. People are getting excited about Cody Garbrandt being in the flyweight division. Listen, he's got a fight on his hands this weekend. There's no doubt about that. We haven't seen him as of yet. Maybe the fight that he's having right now with the scales is an even bigger one, but we'll find out in due course, no doubt. And it says here, what do you think about him depending on how he does in flyweight? People are talking about a bantamweight tournament here. Listen, I think we discussed this, didn't we, Nick, on the preview show. He had to make a change because of everything that was going on in bantamweight. He couldn't string the wins together. He's made the change now. I think he's moving down here to catapult himself towards the flyweight title, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of Cody Garbrandt, definitely. You know, he's not moving down just for a one hit, because he wouldn't do that against Cara France. You know, he'd maybe do that against the bigger name, of course, if it was a title shot. But I think the fact that he's going down, he's fighting Cara France this weekend, suggests that he's looking to make a long-term move down to flyweight, because he generally believes, and we all generally agree, that if he is a successful flyweight this weekend, then he's probably the most popular and the biggest name in the flyweight division, including the champion and the leading contenders. And Moreno and Figueiredo can't keep fighting each other forever, and Cody Garbrandt absolutely would be somebody that would get pushed towards a title shot pretty rapidly. So Cody's out of our bantamweight tournaments. Now, I do like the bantamweight tournaments idea, of course. There's one issue, and that's the fact that we've got to see Aljamain Sterling take on Petr Yan next. No ifs, no buts, no maybes. That's the only fight we want to see. I think with a tournament scenario, it kind of helps when someone like Khabib retires and puts the belt on a table, and you've got 8 guys standing around her who are all worthy, which is what we had at lightweight. I don't think we've quite got that at bantamweight at the moment. When you look at the list of names, the revitalized Jose Aldo, Corey Sandhagen, Rob Font, TJ Dillashaw, there's absolutely the quality in there to suggest the title's going to change hands a lot. But in terms of a tournament, come on, man, we've got to get Yan back in with Aljo first and foremost.
There you go. The commissioner has spoken. Whilst we're speaking quickly about bantamweights, there is one on the card here that a lot of people are excited about. Mike spoke about him earlier on. He's already weighed in as Sugar Sean O'Malley. And at the press conference yesterday, yes, he's fighting somebody else, but he decided to go after Cody Garbrandt. And those two kind of stole the show a little bit with their face-offs and what have you. They grabbed a little bit of headlines. Listen, I'm all for that fight. If Cody wants to go back to bantamweight and make that fight, Mike, I'm in, man. They sold it to me yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I saw Cody at the Apex. He was doing his rounds, doing the media day, and I was talking to him, and he was in great spirits. I said, how's the cut to 125 for the first time ever? He said, so easy. He said, I should have done this a long time ago. And it's interesting because when you look at that fight he had with Rob Font, he was massively undersized. And then yesterday, against Sugar Sean O'Malley, he was a little undersized. But when he squared up against his actual opponent, Cara France, he was the bigger guy for once. And it's not often you see that for Cody Garbrandt. So it does say, number one, the fact that he was able to make weight so easily. Well, I mean, we haven't seen it yet. Yesterday, he was feeling like he was on track to be easy. We'll see what the reality becomes. And seeing him being the bigger guy, he should have went to 125 a long time ago. But I think part of the reason was there was no stars down there. There was no big names, So, and certainly with Sugar Sean O'Malley, them two going back and forth. Yeah, I'd love to see that. If Cody wants to stay and have his career at 125, but just have a fun fight against O'Malley for a one-off at 35, I would love to see that because that is a sensational matchup. I think all the Sugar Sean O'Malley fans would want to see that because that would be by far the biggest test, the biggest name he's ever fought. And for Cody Garbrandt, again, a win-win, a chance to shut this guy up, put him in his place, take that SpongeBob sideshow Bob haircut and stick it where the sun don't shine. Do you know what I mean? 5 hours. 5 hours that guy sits in a hairdresser's chair to have that hairdo. I mean, it's cool. I would not ever dream of leaving the house looking like that, but he pulls it off.
Yeah.
Mate, if I had hair, I would 100% look like that. There's no doubt about it, my man. One thing that I did notice, which was an unusual twist on those types of press conferences that UFC put together. They normally do blue corner, red corner when it's side by side. But what they did with these two fighters, who are Cody Garbrandt and Sean O'Malley, they are both blue corner fighters. They opposed them. So they were on the opposing side of the desk. So in essence, they were sat next to the contender that they're actually fighting tomorrow night. There was no aggro in that fight. There was no aggro between them. They were fine being able to sit that opponent next to each other, but then they allowed them to go off.
All right, next fighter to the scale is the former undisputed UFC bantamweight champion.
There he is.
Making his UFC flyweight debut live on pay-per-view tomorrow, Cody No Love Garbrandt.
Right on cue. And that's an interesting observation, Adam. That means that they were anticipating that, the UFC I'm talking about. They were anticipating that and still potentially angling, putting them two together down the line. Or maybe they just literally thought,
126 pounds, the official weight for Cody Garbrandt.
Because that is something that the UFC... Sorry, Adam.
Listen, there's nothing on him. I'm just saying, there's nothing on him, but I'd say something. Yeah. You don't half look good there, mate. He looks good.
No, he does. And he looks happy. Big smile on his face. It doesn't look like he had to almost kill himself. He didn't need assistance. Sometimes going up and down the stairs, that's the hard part. You walk up and you've dehydrated yourself 15 pounds. You feel like a zombie. You know, you don't know. You're walking into walls and stuff. Negotiating the stairs onto the stage. Trust me, a few times I've had to have people, "You okay, Michael?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. It's just the stairs. Don't worry." And then going down them. But he went down there like a little ballerina. Well done.
Well done, him. Indeed. Cara France weighed in a little earlier on, so that fight's on. We're still waiting for Chef Neal and Santiago Ponzinio and Julian Pena, who's taking on Sean O'Malley. They're the only three fighters on the main card that we're waiting. If you've just joined the show, we're 30 minutes in. The main event, the co-main event, the two title fights that we've got, Charles Oliveira versus Dustin Poirier and Amanda Nunes taking on Juliana Pena. Those fights are in the books. All four of those fighters were the first four fighters that we saw, professional and in the buffet. That's what we like to see. Like I said, just three fighters on the main card that we're waiting for. We're still waiting for Augusto Saki and Tai Tuivasa. Typical heavyweights. They're probably having two breakfasts before they come to see us. Dominic Cruz, still waiting for him on the prelims. Alex Perez, Matt Schnell, the only ones. Oh no, Priscilla Cachiera as well that we are still waiting for, and Derek Minner. So there's about 8 fighters that we are waiting for to come through, but we've got at a good pace. Half an hour in, quite a lot through, and like I said, both title fights done and dusted. Back to you and your social media interaction with us. You can just tweet away and we will get to you as and when there's a little break in the action. Thank you very much for this one. How does anyone beat Nunes? Well, let's start with Juliana Pena, shall we, Mike? We'll start with that because that's what's up in front of her this weekend. How does Pena beat Nunes?
Well, with great difficulty, I would say. I'll start off by saying that. And it's not a fight that I do favor her in, if I'm honest. Yes, she believes in herself. Yes, she's got the attitude. Yes, she's got the size. She's a good enough size to compete with Nunes, who generally physically dominates her opponents. But you've got to be well-rounded. You've got to have a complete skill set to go with all those beliefs, right? Juliana Pena, the game plan's going to be simple. And Nunes said she knows this, and she said this is what everyone tries to do, but it's kind of simple. Cut the cage off, force her up against the fence, get a takedown, take her down, and try and beat her there, right? But when that doesn't go well, you've still got to be able to trade on the feet. I believe Juliana can give her a test with game plan A. You know what I mean? We have seen her struggle, not struggle, but we've seen some opponents have a little more success, shall we say. That's a better way of putting it. When they grapple Amanda, she's a very good grappler. She's a black belt. She can handle herself down there. But that's the best way to beat her. But if Juliana Pena can't do that, if she can't take her down, hold her down, control her, and have success, she's going to be forced to compete in a kickboxing fight against Amanda. And Juliana can't compete there. I'm sorry, the striking is not there. Of course, we know 4-ounce gloves. One shot can change it all. Good luck with that narrative. If that's her game plan, oh, yeah, but it only takes one. Yeah, well, it only takes one from Amanda Nunes, and she's going to throw 21. So you better have your hands up and ready to shoot like your life depends on it. She's happy. She's fiery. She's all dressed up. She's got her hair done nice. She's talking a big game, but she's probably going to get knocked out.
There you go. What a way to answer the question. What a way to answer the question. Oh, my goodness.
Just calling it how I see it, boys.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm wrong.
Nick, in the press conference, we did see Nick, we saw her trying to poke the bear a little bit. She was trying to get under the skin of Nunes, wasn't she? Good idea, bad idea. I suppose we'll see tomorrow night, won't we?
Yeah, exactly. I think to get more about answering the question, obviously I sided with Mike. I think Juliana Pena's got a huge task ahead of her taking on Amanda Nunes. I think you're talking seismic. One of the biggest upsets in UFC history if she were to pull it off. It's Matt Serra, GSP all over again. It's one of them. It's, she's against the odds big time. In terms of beating Amanda Nunes, how'd you beat the greatest of all time female fighter? That's the $1 million question. I think the only way to kind of look at that from my perspective would be to look at Valentina Shevchenko, who I believe is a technically better fighter. Now, if Valentina Shevchenko was naturally 10, 15, 20 pounds bigger than what she is now, then we would have a real fight on our hands, because I think the strength of Valentina Shevchenko is the fact that she's got fast feet. She's got incredible kicks. She's incredible at range. She's got wonderful takedown defense, and she's great with trips up inside the clinch as well, you know. So she's great at taking top position from the clinch. So those are the facets which work well for Valentina Shevchenko. So if you could find somebody that could do that and be 20 pounds heavier, maybe that's what beats Amanda Nunes. But Nunes is just so physically strong and so confident these days because she does go in there and just blow opponents away. I think when she beat Chris Cyborg, she almost became untouchable. That was the last great hurdle in her legacy. And when she ran through Cyborg so convincingly to become the featherweight champion as well, that's when you kind of thought, ooh, we could have 10 years of dominance out of Amanda Nunes now. So it's not the easiest thing to do. Can it be done? Of course. Everybody can be beat. Is there anybody at 135 or 145 on the planet capable of doing it today? No, there is not.
Listen, I know you guys are big deals, you know, and you're very
next
busy
fighter
with all your
to the
other
scale,
endeavors.
competing in a prelim live on ESPN2 in the UFC's heavyweight division, Ty Bam Bam Tuivasa.
Oh, it's Big Ty.
Look,
what a guy.
You're out in Dubai. You're doing big things in the boxing world, the Fight Disciples. You're winning awards and all this stuff. But if you stuck to one sport, then you would know, and because you would have watched my interview with Amanda Nunes. See, I'm all in on this game. You know, UFC, I'm in. Mixed martial arts. I'm a purist, you might say. And if you'd have done the research, much like Dominic Cruz would say to Daniel Cormier,
264, the official weight for Ty Tuivasa.
You would have seen that Nunes said she's open to fighting Shevchenko at 130 pounds for a female BMF. That is the ultimate fight, I think. I mean, I do believe I suggested it and got scoffed at by the pair of you a while ago. But she's open to doing that. Ty Tuivasa, always good to see him on the card. Can't wait for that one. But well said, Nick. Good talk.
No, mate, I absolutely agree. You did throw the catchweight one in there. I have been far too busy, unfortunately, but I will go and watch your interview. As soon as this weigh-in show finishes, I'm going to rush away and watch it. But I want to watch it. I want to watch it, Mike, to find out, did she suggest it? Or did Bisping try and push his narrative and suggest it himself? Come on, be honest.
Definitely put words in her mouth.
Yes, I can. Listen,
of course you did.
Just because we come as a package, all right, yeah? Don't be tarring me with his brush. I watched your interview, so I know exactly what happened in that interview, my man. And I know that you was the one that sold it to her, my friend, and she bought into it very kindly because that's what Amanda Nunes does. But I think you're right. I think both of you are right, actually. It is the fight, and if we can get it at a more fair, even weight, it makes it even bigger, in my opinion. Absolutely sensational fight. Let's see if we can get that on. There you go. Thank you very much for your question, throwing that. In short, nobody can beat Amanda Nunes until she fights at the catch weight with Valentina Shevchenko. There you go. That's the answer that we came up with on that one. And if you've got a suggestion, you're more than welcome. Go on, Mike. I can see you want to say something. Go on, lad.
Well, I was going to say, I'm not sure if I agree with that. Nobody can beat her. I think everybody can be beaten. You know, there's a lot of competition at 135, you know, and maybe there is someone that can beat her. I honestly don't think it's Juliana Pena. You need a more complete skill set, much to Nick's point. Shevchenko, when you look at her, she has got no weak areas. Juliana Pena is a tough test. I believe she'll have some success. I believe there might be a couple of, you know, maybe even a round or two that maybe she takes on the scorecards because she gets a takedown. And I think when she takes it down, she's going to be so concerned with position over submission or trying to get ground and pound. It's going to be kind of a lackluster affair, any kind of points that Juliana scores. But when they separate and they get on the feet, she's not skilled enough on the feet to go toe-to-toe with Amanda. So, you know, everyone can be beaten. But still, I don't think it's going to be Juliana Pena. I could be wrong, though.
Okay. Here's a suggestion then for you from one of our good friends, Aaron Bronstetter from our Canadian broadcast partners. He spoke to Dana White talking about the possibility of Kayla Harrison coming over. Obviously, Kayla Harrison has been dominating the PFL if people have been keeping up with their mixed martial arts. Now, I personally haven't seen too much of Kayla Harrison with her hands. She's brilliant when it comes to grappling exchanges, and that's kind of how I see the majority of her fights going. I think if she is going to come over here and compete with Amanda Nunes, she's maybe got to improve her striking. Maybe I'm being naive there because I've not seen too much of it. Maybe she's brilliant at striking, but that's the impression I get. Mike, I don't know about you. You're probably more across it than me, seeing as that you are all in on one sport, my friend. Give it us.
No, I'm a massive boxing fan as well. Come on. Listen, So when we were out in New York, actually, for UFC 268, I actually had the privilege of sitting next to Kayla Harrison. Never met her before, and we got talking. And obviously, I said to her, you know, because she's a free agent. I said, UFC, what are we saying? You're going to sign with them? And she was undecided back then because she said, when I want to come over, I want to be the best. You know, I'm not saying I can't compete, but I feel that if I was to have another season with the PFL, if I was continue to do some work in rounding out my skill set, which brings it back to your question, Adam, you know, then I feel I could have more success. But if the numbers are right, if the offer is correct, then I will do it. You're absolutely right. She's huge for that division. You know, I think she's bigger than Amanda. I think she fights at 155 sometimes as well. So she's a big girl. She's got excellent grappling, but on the feet, she'd fall short. She really would. And look at Chris Cyborg. Cyborg, as you mentioned there, the greatest, most exciting one round that you'll see between two women fighters ever. That fight was unbelievable. And Cyborg is big. Cyborg hits hard. And Amanda Nunes beat her at her own game. So for Kayla Harrison, of course, that's going to be the selling point. We got the big girl from PFL coming in. She's coming in hot. She's the judo champion. Blah, 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 blah. But can you bang? Because if you can't, you're going to come up short.
Can you bang? Brilliant. That's the one.
How many times? How many times growing up as a young man did Bisping say that outside the nightclub in Chorley? Can you bang? Because if not, you're coming up short.
Oh, mate. Oh, God.
I love it.
Every week.
Park Hall, Chorley. Yeah, had some good nights out there. Yeah.
There's a place.
For those that are just joining us. Sorry,
yes, indeed. We're 45 minutes into the official weigh-ins here for UFC 269. Hopefully you're enjoying the show. Yes, my shirt is that bad. It's not just the Wi-Fi. But just to let you know that we've got two title fights. They are sorted. They are in the books and they are already rehydrating. Charles Oliveira, Dustin Poirier, Amanda Nunes, and Juliana Pena were the first four athletes on the scales. Incredibly professional, getting the job done, and they're on and in the books. We're still waiting for about 8 athletes, including Dominic Cruz, and 3 from the main card, including Julian Pena, who's taking on Sean O'Malley, and we're still waiting on Jeff Neal and Santiago Ponzinio. Now, boys, our producer has just been on to me wanting to know a little bit of gossip on Leon Edwards, his favourite fighter, Max's favourite fighter. He wants to know a little bit about it. Now, we're actually out in Dubai, as Mike pointed out at the start of the show. And for those that are following anybody on social media at the moment, they will know that there's certain British athletes out here doing a little bit of warm weather training in the winter. The likes of the Darren Tills, Leon Edwards, Brendan Loughnane is out here as well, a Manchester fighter doing extremely well with the PFL. There's a picture of us all there. There you go, Brits abroad. Mikey, where were you, son? Wait. In fact, they were asking about you, you know. I said, listen, one of us has got to go and do some proper work this week. He's gone to Vegas. He's holding the fort. He's keeping the ship sailing. That's what Mikey B's doing this week, matey. They were asking for
I didn't get an invite. Let's just start with that. So thanks again, lads. Although I did get a lot of abuse of Darren Till yesterday. I did. Even though he's in Dubai, he's still abusing me. I got abusive messages from someone that I suspected it to be Darren. So I messaged back straight away. Said, Darren, why don't you wear shorts that fit you? Because there was a picture of him with those shorts. They were rolled up. Hold on. And Darren sending me pictures from, it was from Faster Car Finance. Yeah, he's sending me messages here, right? just pure abuse, but I knew it was him. But I would have loved an invite, but it looks like you guys are having a lot of fun. Darren looks sharp on the pads there. But going back to the question, Leon Edwards then, so you've been with him. What is he saying?
Yes, we were all together. Well, first and foremost, privileged to see 3 elite athletes like that, just in a really relaxed environment, going through the work and helping each other, you know. Iron always sharpens iron. They were learning off each other. They were practicing each other's tricks, some new things that they can maybe bring to competition in 2022. Obviously, we know that Darren's obviously recuperating at the moment. He had that knee injury. He's trying to get himself sorted. Brendan Loughnane's in between contracts. Could be some interesting news coming up in 2022. Fingers crossed for him, an extremely talented British fighter. But a lot of people obviously want to know what is the latest with Leon Edwards. And in conversation yesterday, he's kind of still a little bit up in the air. But when he left for Dubai, he was of the understanding that Kamaru Usman wants to throw down with him in and around March and April. Now, obviously, in the past, boys, we've spoken about this situation on plenty of occasions. We've encouraged Leon to make the noise on social media, make the noise anywhere, keep the noise flowing in order to get himself into the situation that he dreams of. But listen, if it comes to fruition, March, April next year with Kamaru Usman, which is looking highly likely at this particular point, then I personally have got to take a little bit of a step back, hold my hands up and say, listen, maybe I was wrong. Maybe you don't need to make the noise. Maybe talent does, in the end, win out. That's the fight that we want to see. Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman in the welterweight division.
Yeah, and Leon, as you said, last night looked great, so sharp. Even though he's out of camp, whenever I see Leon, I've never seen Leon out of camp, if you like. I've never seen him heavy. I've never seen him slow. He's always kind of switched on. And talking to him yesterday, the fall through a Jorge Masvidal fight, which of course was supposed to be happening this weekend. We were all supposed to be in Vegas with Leon to see him fight Masvidal this weekend, and we kind of joked about it. And Leon said we're here in Dubai when we should have been in Las Vegas. But he basically pointed out that's the 6th fight that's fallen through for him in the UFC, which has got to be some kind of record for somebody so high up in the 20 rankings.
Months. Yeah.
In 20 months, that's the 6th fight, the 6th date, the 6th opponent that's fallen through. That's heartbreaking stuff, and he has been on a journey, a frustrating journey, never mind for Leon, but for fans of Leon Edwards. We've been frustrated on this show so many times saying, Leon, scream down a microphone, get busy on your social media. You've got to make this fight happen. And it's kind of nice that hopefully now, he's waited around long enough. He's stood in line long enough. He's beaten enough guys who are very highly ranked in this weight division. He's won enough imaginary eliminators. He just needs to fight for the title now, and it couldn't be happening at a better time because, as I say, seeing him last night, he hasn't got a date yet, but he's so sharp. He's so switched on. And he genuinely feels and talks as if it's his time. And he knows it was when he lost to Usman first time around was a long time ago. He believes he's evolved so much more. That fight was basically won by a wrestler, out wrestling, out grappling a striker. Completely different Leon Edwards now. Of course, completely different Kamaru Usman as well. But I tell you what, it won't be as one-sided as the first fight, that's for sure.
I totally agree with everything you said, Nick. Totally agree. And what a crazy stat, by the way, to have 6 fights fall out for Leon Edwards. Because I did 12 years signed with the UFC and never happened to me once. You know what I mean? So he has been very, very unlucky. I could have swore I saw Dana talk about Leon this week. It might have been at the press conference yesterday or maybe in an interview. Somebody asked about Leon Edwards. He said, yeah, we've got something in store for Leon. And when they said that kind of made it sound like it wasn't a title fight. You know what I mean? He said, yeah, we've got something in the works or something in store. So we've got something lined up, something interesting for Leon. If it was a title fight, then, of course, something interesting. But I forget the exact quote. Did either of you guys see that? It sounded like they were working on a fight, but not a title fight. Maybe I'm reading that wrong.
Yeah.
I think it was because Usman had made noises. Yeah, Usman had made some noises about having an injured hand, didn't he? A broken hand and wanting some extra time off. And that was one thing we said to Leon. Did you see what Dana said? He was kind of alluding to something else. But as Adam pointed out, Leon said, listen, the only thing I know is before I came out here, I was told March or April, that's when it's going to happen. So until I hear anything else, that's what I've got in my mind. Yeah,
because I heard that due to certain pre-negotiations that the next fight for Leon would be a title fight regardless of what happens. So maybe he's just going to stick to his guns then. All right. Let's see how the drama unfolds. Stay tuned for another episode of Who Will Leon Edwards Fight Next?
You're on it today. You're on it today, aren't you, Sunshine? You can tell that you've had a couple of days in Vegas. Yeah, exactly. There he is. Look at him now. He's all over it.
Someone has to be, Catterall. Come on, mate. Come on.
What's this here? On social media, 2 dogs lie. I think it's one of your lot, this, Nicholas. Rumours that Till is fighting Uriah Hall on his comeback good matchup. Those rumours we've heard as well. We put those to Mr. Till yesterday whilst we were in Dubai. He's heard those rumours as well. He's also heard rumours that it might be Cannonier, it might be this guy, it might be that guy. All we can tell you, confirmed writers of this moment, nothing's signed, nothing's absolutely in writing. And we're kind of up in the air as well, because I don't know what it's like over in the States at the moment, Mike, but we've had a few additions when it comes to COVID restrictions and travel here in the UK. I know that we're in Dubai at the moment, but when we're back in the UK, there's a few things that maybe have just thrown a little bit of a spanner into some negotiations, because we've said on this show on plenty of occasions, there's a big plan. The dream is obviously UFC London in March, Fingers crossed that can still happen. But as of right now, with these new restrictions, it's throwing a little bit of a spanner in the works. And I know, listen, anybody that speaks to Darren, he loves fighting in front of UK fans. And that is one of his ambitions as well. And that was one of the things that we were speaking to him about yesterday. So sadly, there's nothing in concrete from our conversations yesterday. Just a little bit more spice, I suppose, on some of those rumours. Nothing signed, i.e. Uriah Hall and anybody else.
So you said a lot there, but you actually gave us nothing. So is he fighting
politician,
or
mate.
not?
Politician.
He's like waffling on.
That's how I'm rolling.
He's having parties in Downing Street. You know what I mean? Just not listening to what we're saying.
Completely.
Yeah, obviously March 19th in London.
What would you make of the matchup? What would you make of the matchup if he did sign and fight Uriah Hall? Does that work for you? Where Darren's at right now, does that work for you, Mike?
It totally makes sense. And stylistically, I think it would be a good fight.
Next fighter
of course,
to the
not
scale,
an easy
competing
fight.
live on ESPN2, the 11th ranked UFC heavyweight Augusto Sakai.
Uriah Hall just lost to Sean Strickland, so it's two guys that have lost a fight. You know, it wouldn't make sense to put him up against a surging contender right now. For Darren, I know that's the type of fight that he wants, but I think stepping back a little bit, not going after someone in the top 5. I'm not sure what Uriah Hall's ranked right now, maybe 8 or 9. I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, and apologies if I'm wrong. But I like that matchup. I think it's a really good matchup. It's still a solid test because Uriah Hall, I've trained with him. Everyone's seen him fight, of course, many times. I've trained with him. He's still sharp.
263.5, the official weight for Augusto Sakai.
And after losing to Sean Strickland the way that he did, because prior to that, he was on a nice little roll. He'd just beaten Anderson Silva, and he was talking about title fights and finally coming into his own and finding his stride, yada, yada, yada. So he's going to be fired up for his comeback. So it's going to be a tough test for Darren, but I do like that matchup. It's a great suggestion.
There you go. Thank you very much for your social media post on the boys out in Dubai who are planning to stay out here for a little bit because they're enjoying working together. That's nice, isn't it, Mike? Eh? The English lads all working together, making each other's better. You know, you've inspired them, pal. They all want to be like you. They want to be like Uncle Mike. Maybe you can get out here and do a bit with him in the warm weather. What do you reckon?
What? Train with them?
Yeah, why not? Eh? Come and do a bit.
Because I'm fat, over shape, I got no knees, one eye, right? I'm walking into walls. Do you know what I mean? I can't bloody bend over and tie my own shoelaces. My body is a tied up little knot. Yeah, sure. Oh, let's go out to Dubai. Train with the best fighters from the UK. Get my backside kicked in front of everyone. You get it on your little BT Sport YouTube show. Bisping was never that good. Look at him. He's getting his backside kicked all over the place. No, I'm good out here. Thank you very much. Sitting on my lofty perch, casting opinions with a Hall of Fame trophy behind me, keeping the illusion alive.
Damn right.
No, I'd love to. I would absolutely love to.
As you can see on screen, we're just asking people watching the show, obviously looking forward to UFC 269 at the weekend, how they see that main event, Oliveira versus Poirier. Quite a lot of people online there believing that there will be an new situation in the main event, with 59% of people thinking that Dustin Poirier will achieve that lifelong goal of becoming the UFC lightweight champion. Do you think, Nick, I mean, like me, and I've admitted that maybe I've done this, that people are maybe answering that question with their hearts rather than their heads? Have people got a little bit romantic with that and underestimated Charles?
Of course. Listen, Dustin's the bigger star here. Of course he is. You know, you don't beat Conor McGregor twice and go down in popularity. You surge in popularity for 2 reasons. Because some people don't like Conor McGregor, so immediately they love you more than ever. And some people who did support Conor McGregor, see you beat the guy up twice, kind of go, okay, well, this is my new favorite fighter. So Dustin has absolutely benefited from that. I'm not saying BT Sport viewers haven't got a more of an educated, assessment of the fight. But for me personally, I always fancied Charles when the fight was made, just because of the way MMA is. And, we talked about it a lot in the preview show, but also yesterday at the media day when Charles and Dustin came head to head, and Charles looked like the bigger fighter. He had his chest out, obviously, but he was looking down at Dustin, and it looked like there was a good 2 inches between them in real size. And I was like, okay, that guy looks like a champion. He's carrying himself like a champion. And I know Dustin's confidence and everything else, But Charles Oliveira ain't going to roll over for no man. And I've got to disagree with the poll. I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm going to stick to the fact that I think Charles Oliveira will hold on to that belt.
When you look at the way that these guys shape up, Mike, obviously extremely well-rounded, the pair of them, but you would probably give the edge on the mat to Charles, and you would probably give the edge on the feet to Dustin, but you'd only do it slightly, wouldn't you? There's not a massive disparity between the pair of them. They're very well evenly matched. It's a classic. Listen, people watching this are mixed martial arts fans, the big mixed martial arts fan. This is pure mixed martial arts, this title fight on Saturday.
No, it is. And Dustin Poirier, in terms of MMA grappling, which is very different to jiu-jitsu, yeah, of course he can hang. Yeah. But when it actually comes to jiu-jitsu, Charles Oliveira's light years ahead of him. And the way he takes submissions in an instant really is something to behold, something really impressive. That's why he's got the record. I really feel that one of the main things that Dustin has, a big advantage over Charles Oliveira, is the footwork. Okay, Charles is a good striker. He will walk people down. He is fearless. He's great in the clinch, excellent knees, elbows from the clinch. He's got good leg kicks and he's got good hands. But I don't think he moves. He doesn't possess the boxing footwork that Poirier does. Right? And Poirier touched on it the other day. And when you watch him, he cuts angles well. He's got great lateral movement. So when Charles is walking him down, trying to pressure him against the fence like he does to a lot of people, I think that Poirier is going to dance around the octagon. He's going to cut angles. He's going to use the feet to turn the tables on him. So all of a sudden, it'll be Charles that's backed up against the fence. He has a tremendous way of doing that and using the feet. And I think that's going to be a big differentiator for Charles, for Dustin Poirier, and I think that's what's going to give him the success. I think he hits harder. I do think he has the better hands, and that's why I have Dustin Poirier winning this fight. And I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is. I'm not talking money here, but I'm talking some kind of bet, Nick. If you want to go head to head and don't know what the forfeit is, if we lose, maybe the next man. I don't know. Give us a suggestion. I mean, I've got Dustin. You've got Charles. Not cash. Something, a forfeit of some description. The next show. You have to do the next show. We have to do something. I don't know what it is, but there you go.
Okay, listen, I've got something.
All right.
When we do, so we'll have a bet, and whoever loses,
get to the point. Well, hold on, we haven't agreed this yet. This is your suggestion. I'll have a suggestion.
This is my suggestion.
Well, let's hear yours.
This is my suggestion. Whoever loses has to wear the most god-awful Christmas jumper when we do our end-of-year review show. So the end-of-year review show, you wear a jumper of my choice for the entire show. Or vice versa.
Perfect. Love it. Nice and harmless. A little bit of fun.
Hang on.
I like a good Christmas jumper, though.
Right?
I'm going to raid Catterall's wardrobe.
That's why it's not a decent bet. No. Listen, this is what we're going to do, right? The loser has to wear the football shirt of the other's team. So if Nick Peet gets beat, he has to wear a Manchester United shirt. He has to wear a Manchester United shirt.
Chance.
And you have to wear a Liverpool shirt.
No chance. There's absolutely no chance. That's not the bet.
I mean,
it's a Christmas joke. Stop getting involved because you haven't even picked picked the winner. So stop getting involved. It's got nothing to do with you.
Michael wear the Liverpool shirt. If he loses, you will wear the Manchester United shirt, which is Mike's. He'll hand it over to you next time we see you, and you'll have to do one of our full shows wearing a Man United shirt, Nick.
Well, that's a great suggestion, I'm going to say. And I can see the response from Nick, and he's already having nightmares about wearing a Man U shirt. But the problem is I don't possess a Liverpool shirt. And with the supply chain issues that we have all over the world, getting on Amazon and spending $60 or $100 or $150, whatever they bloody cost these days, because they're a rip-off, right? It ain't going to be here in time. So that one's off the table. I like the Christmas jumper. Or you're just going to wear something bad. You're going to just look ridiculous for the next show. There you go.
Something ridiculous in the end of year show, and you stop getting involved because listen, this is Catterall. I've seen him wear a Blackburn shirt, a Manchester City shirt, a Liverpool shirt. He is just one of those fans that gets behind the team that's winning. So you've got no right to talk in football shirts, pal.
If you look at him right now, he will literally wear any shirt.
Anything.
There you go, lads.
Literally.
It's all here, isn't it? Look at this, eh? We're at the Copacabana tonight, boys. Look at this, eh?
Let's go.
Incredible.
Anyway, let's get back to more serious matters. We're still waiting for quite a few fighters to come through. We have rattled through a lot. So if you have just joined us, we're an hour through. We've got two title fights. We've got main event and co-main event. Both came through. First 4 fighters through. They're already rehydrated. We're just waiting for Jeff Neal, Santiago Ponzinio off the main card. The other fights. Oh, and Halion Paiva as well, who is taking on Sean O'Malley. Now then, if we do, boys, get UFC London in March, what is your dream headliner? Thank you very much, Steve Wilson on social media. I know Nick's going to say somebody connected to Liverpool. So, Mike, you're up first. What do you reckon, pal?
Yeah, well, and rightly so, because obviously Darren Till's one of the biggest names that we have, right? Paddy the Baddy is making huge waves as well. I think we'll see if, hypothetically, this goes ahead, which fingers crossed, please. You know, since I've been a commentator, I've not called an event in London, and I'm dying to do that. So please, and for everyone there, and for UK MMA, we need it. We need it. We need the live events. That's how you grow the fan base. But anyway, I think Paddy will be on there, probably a co-main, if not Darren Till a co-main. Leon Edwards, I think, judging by if it's Kamaru Usman or something else bigger, I don't think Leon will be on the card. Yeah. But again, that would be lovely. But come on, the big man, Tom Aspinall. Even Cyril Gahn said that he's keeping an eye on him. He's a future champion. I think a big fight for Tom Aspinall. I know he wants to take it slowly. I know he's got a matchup, actually. In fact, no, judging by the matchup that he's had, that I won't say because he swore me to secrecy, that's not the main event that we want. Sorry, Tom. You're opening up you're the prelim headliner, Tom. You went from the main event to Dominic Cruzland in the blink of an eye. Let's throw Paddy the Baddy in there. He's the man of the moment. Darren, unfortunately, with a bit of a fall from grace. Not a fall from grace, but he hasn't had the results that he wants. Put it Darren in the co-main. Paddy the Baddy in the main. Give me a name, Nick. Give me a name, Adam. Who do we say?
I'll give you one. Brendan Loughnane. Bring him to the UFC. Put them two together. Let's make the fight. Manchester versus Liverpool. Main event. Let's go, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Paddy, yeah, that would be a great fight. I don't know about a UFC main event just yet. Come on, we get a bit carried away now.
Listen, we've got the Liverpool Manchester, you've got to start looking at thing again.
There you go. I think you've got to look at Paul, our two guys that are most highly ranked. Other than Leon, who's hopefully getting a title shot. You're looking at Arnold Allen. You're looking at Paul Craig. So for Arnold Allen. Anyone, Brian Ortega, Korean Zombie, these are big names. This would torpedo him towards a title opportunity. And for Paul Craig, they tried to make Alexander Gustafsson and Paul Craig one.
9th ranked in the UFC.
I'm down for Alexander Gustafsson versus Paul Craig in the main event.
Schnell.
It's a good shout, man.
No, it is a good shout. But Paul Craig, I can't believe I never even thought of his name. He does deserve more recognition because the work he's doing, and the way he's beating people. I mean, look at Jamal Hill. Look how good Jamal Hill looked last weekend. I don't know if anyone called that fight.
126, the official weight for Matt Schnell.
Jamal Hill, who did he fight? Jimmy Crute. I mean, man, it was a masterclass of a performance. Knockout. And Paul Craig submitted him in the first round, and did damage and looked dangerous like he always does. So good shout there and shout out Paul Craig. Hope you're well, mate.
What about Ian Gary in a main event, boys? Do you fancy that one?
Guys, listen.
Again,
stop.
I think it's
1-5.
It's a bit like Paddy the Baddy, man. It's too soon. Yeah. Way too soon.
It is. But Baddy just has seemed to transcend that. But Paul Craig, Ian Gary, stick him on there. Brendan Loughnane, signed with the UFC. He should be in the UFC. I think he'd be a great addition, and I want to see him sign that contract and come over. But you can't throw a guy from the PFL in the main event. Adam Catterall, get a grip, please. Mate, listen.
I can do what I want.
The Wi-Fi is terrible. The shirt's even worse. But the stuff coming out of your mouth is what's really taking the biscuit, brother.
I'm blaming the Wi-Fi. You're not hearing me properly. Look who's just we'll use it
live on pay-per-view tomorrow night in the UFC's welterweight division. 14th ranked Santiago Ponzinio.
Here we go. Let's get some of this main card action through here.
This is a fight. This is a good fight.
Yeah.
Jeff Neal versus Ponzinio is a good fight, man. Both guys can bang. Both guys, super creative striker. Ponzinio, as we know, one of the top-ranked guys in the welterweight division, had a horrific time with injuries, staph infections, cancelled fights, COVID cases, you name it, he's suffered it all. But up against Jeff Neal, who apparently can't fight behind closed doors, but back in front of a fan base, she'll be able to start banging again. I'm looking forward to this one.
169.5, the official weight for the Argentine dagger, Santiago Ponzinio.
And he's a cool guy, Ponzinio. I see him around the Apex all the time because he does the Spanish language commentary. So I see him there all the time, and it's a good job he's doing the Spanish language because I don't understand what he says to me. He's really nice, and you can tell by the body language and what he's saying.
All right, next
and
fighter to
the
scale,
smile
also
on his face, and he's touching your shoulder. We're having a nice conversation, but I'm like, yeah. Cool, buddy, mate, pal. Yeah. Oh, great. Because his accent is so strong, but man, can he fight. You're right, Nick. Incredible fight. Can't wait for that one.
Mm-hmm. Raulian Paiva on the scales, taking on Sean O'Malley, kicking off the main card.
This is a good test for O'Malley.
It is.
Really good.
It is because, think about it, he's been at Team Alpha Male for 2 months.
Official weight 135.5 for Raulian Paiva.
Their game plan is going to be strike, shoot, take this fight to the floor. I asked Sean about it. Sean said, I'm not concerned about that. Somebody that's been wrestling for 2 months. But listen, the guy's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He understands the grappling side of things. You know, the brain's already formatted for those kind of skills. And of course, he's been in the UFC and an MMA fighter for a long time. So yes, he's wrestled. And then going to Team Alpha Male, they're going to do a good job of rounding out those kind of skills that he needs to take O'Malley to the ground. So I think it's going to be I've got O'Malley winning, by the way. I think he's going to put on a beautiful display once again. The footwork, I think, will be the key. I think the speed, the striking, the range of attacks that he has. But I think Paiva's going to definitely test him.
It's a live opponent.
Just on the fight itself, because obviously everything when you're fighting Sean O'Malley, it's always geared towards Sean O'Malley because of the type of character he is and the type of star that people believe that he will go on to become. But now we're in a situation where he is stepping up in class. After this, there'll be a serious chat, no doubt. If he can beat Paiva, there'll be a serious chat as to whether he maybe nicks the number 15 slot on the rank situations at bantamweight, and then the only way is up from there. Does he look? I mean, you know Chito very well, Mike. Is that a fight that I know the fans are probably want to see it run back between Sean and Chito. Where's Chito's head at? He's probably looking a little bit further forward given his recent results, isn't he?
Yeah.
Well, O'Malley wants it. I asked him about it. He said 100% that is a fight that needs to happen. Of course, from O'Malley's perspective, he wants that, of course, because he feels that the gods dealt him an unfair hand and he wasn't really defeated. We'll put it like that. Chito's a dog. Chito will fight anybody. And I've asked Chito about that many times. And he said, they want to do that, run it back anytime. So Chito is confident in a rematch. He's confident that it wasn't a fluke. And he's confident he would do the same thing all over again. You know, so for Chito, it would be another chance to beat a big star like O'Malley, continue the win streak and keep chipping away, working towards that title shot. But on that note, you guys can talk amongst yourselves because one guy's got to go to the little boys' room and I shall be right back. So feel free, talk amongst yourselves. Say all the bad words you want to say about me.
Listen, if my Wi-Fi was actually working, mate, I would just spend the next couple of minutes absolutely laying into you. But sadly, it's not working. So I'm going to have to renege on that. And we'll talk a little bit about fighting. Whilst he's gone for a little wee-wee, we'll touch quickly upon Santiago Ponzinio because he weighed in a couple of months ago. He's taking on Jeff Neal, number 14, ranked at welterweight. A couple of years ago, Nick, obviously we had a conversation about who could potentially really kick on in this division and give the top guys some serious problems. And Santiago Ponzinio was most certainly one of those guys. But he was out of action for 26 months, came steaming back in against Yang Liang, gets himself steamrolled. And we kind of thought to ourselves, oh, maybe he's lost it. Maybe he's lost his magic touch. But last time out against Biza, he looked very, very good. It's about momentum now for him, isn't he? He's got to put in a good performance. He's got to give us something special against Jeff Neal and then kick off 2022 with absolute fireworks if he's going to push towards maybe getting towards those championship fights.
Yeah, and he was on a 7-fight winning run before he got a staph infection, before he took on Jing Liang at a week's notice, before he suffered that loss that felt like a setback after so long out of the octagon. 3 years, best part of, I think it was November 2018 till 2021. So, two good long years there where he's kind of been out of action. That completely stopped his momentum. And as you say, that rematch, that late notice fight with Jing Liang, probably the worst late notice guy to get in hold of the welterweight division because he's just such a physical specimen, such a monster. And that KO, that first round KO, did seem to set him back a little bit, but you're right. He came back against Beezer in June. It was a unanimous points decision, but it was a dominant points decision. And I truly believe that was probably one of the best wins of his entire career. I think Ponzinio at the time probably thought, you know what, I needed that win more than anything else in my life. The first time I've had my arm raised in 3 years of competition. Okay, only one fight, but 3 years, such a long time to be working your way back into the UFC fold. So finally get his arm raised again. I think that will give him the momentum now and the confidence to go in this fight with Neal and really start being creative again, really start going back to the old Ponzinio. And I think Neal's the perfect guy to do it. Yes, he's very dangerous. He's got incredibly heavy hands, but he is pretty one-dimensional as well. And I think Ponzinio can really express himself in this fight, maybe get through the first round, look good in the first round, and then just open that book of tricks. Because as you pointed out, when he's on fire, when he was in that incredible run that he was in, is there a more creative striker in the welterweight division? I don't know. Obviously, Stephen Thompson's pretty creative, but I'd say Ponzinio has got that unpredictability about him as well. So that's a great fight I'd love to see down the line. But when you look at that run as well, Nordine Taleb, Gunnar Nelson, Mike Perry, Neil Magny, the bogeyman of the division, all these guys were completely run through by Ponzinio when he was in form. So if he can get a win over Neal this weekend, yeah, absolutely, he's back in the fold for a welterweight title mix opportunity. And 2-3 wins, I can see him touching base for the title.
Absolutely. Now, before Mike jumps back in and abuses us all for the next hour, Priscilla Kashera, we're just waiting for her. Derek Minner, Alex Perez, they're on the early prelims. We're still waiting for Dominic Cruz to come through off the prelims. He's not weighed in as of yet. And one on the main card is indeed Santiago Ponzinibio's opponent, Jeff Neal. We're waiting for him. Everybody else has come through. Both title fights are done and dusted. They were the first 4 athletes that weighed in on this official UFC weighing show here on BT Sport for UFC 269. And if you have just joined us, yeah, that really is my shirt. And the Wi-Fi and pixelation isn't helping it at all. It really is that. In fact, it's making it look a little bit better. Anyway, let's get stuck back into some of the questions that you are throwing our way, shall we? Thank you very much for Nash on Twitter. With Mike being back, I think it's a perfect person to take this one. Why do people still question Charles Oliveira's heart, even after the fantastic comeback against Chandler?
Well, because if you look at history, he's been finished many times, and sometimes you could argue that he looked for a way out. And I'm looking here, there was quite the run he went on, and he was finished in a lot of them. I think almost all of them were finishes, and one could argue that when you get finished so many times that maybe you allow that to happen. Certainly some fighters do. When things are going bad, you curl up in a ball and you wait for the referee to stop the fight. I think a prime example that would counter that theory against Charles Oliveira is the fight that you just mentioned. Look at that first round against Michael Chandler. Look at the end of the first round when he was almost finished and he was on the floor and he was moving his head around like a maniac, trying to avoid shots. That was the perfect time that if he didn't have heart, if he wanted to quit, if he was looking for a way out, to just curl up, let Chandler land a few more blows, and the referee would have stopped it. But he didn't do that. As I said, he did everything he could to fight, to survive, to make it to the next round, and then look to finish his opponent, which is what he did. Listen, he was a young man when he came to the UFC. He's filled into himself. Of course, he was also fighting at 145 a lot in the past. That affects your ability to take a shot. It affects your strength. It affects your psychology going into it, because the entire blooming camp is all about making weight and getting down that low. Now he's at 55. He's bigger. He's stronger. He's growing into himself. He believes in himself. He's carrying himself like a champion. He's walking out there looking like a bloody male model with the shades and the suit and the belt over the shoulder. I don't think there's any worries about heart. He wants this. He believes in it. He's living that life. He's realized his dream. He's doing projects in the favelas. He's helping everybody out. And he knows all this is happening now from his stature as a mixed martial artist. And you're going to have to blooming knock him out cold or choke him out unconscious to take that belt off him on Saturday night.
Yeah, it's going to be a great main event. Can't wait for it. Just a quick one as well. A few people are messaging about Cody Garbrandt. Yes, he weighed in and he looked good actually on the scales, making his flyweight debut against Kaikara of France on that main card on BT Sport. So make sure you're tuning in for that one. The prelims get underway from 1 with that main card getting going at 3 o'clock. Oh, we get this question every year. I like this. I do like this. And to be fair, Nick's going to do a bit of gloating here because he did actually call, when this question came in 12 months ago, he said the current champion as his answer. Who will be the lightweight champion by the end of 2022? Not this year, boys. 12 months from now onwards. Who will be champion at 155 in 12 months' time? Nick, seeing as that you predicted it well last time out, you could go. I'll let Nick go first. Go on, mate.
No, let him go because I just spoke last. I get it. It's tit for tat. You got to take my turn. You got to hog the limelight. Nick Peet, wowers with brilliance.
There we go. I think, yes, I was right. I was right 12 months ago when I did predict Charles Oliveira would end the year with the belt. Thank you very much. Yeah, I take that plaudits. I appreciate it.
He hasn't done it yet. He hasn't done it yet.
And
he's got to win on Saturday. He's got to win on Saturday first.
Right, I've just told you he's going to win on Saturday, so I'm going to stick to my guns.
All right, okay.
Here's my prediction for the champion at the end of 2022. And it will be a new name. And it will be...
I know you're going to steal my pick.
It will be Islam Makhachev.
I
believe Islam Makhachev will get the opportunity before the end of the year. Thanks to Uncle Habib, he will get that opportunity to be there. But you know he'll be biting away at his heels? Do you know he'll be chipping away, waiting for his opportunity? He won't have the chance in 2022, but I think he might in 2023. And this is a guy that blew me away recently, Rafael Fazeev. Wow, that guy is 100% legit. I think he's a future champion as well. But to answer the question, end of 2022, I'm going to go for Mr. Islam Makhachev. Yes, the belt is going back to Dagestan.
Well, I will take my hat off to you and you can shake my hand because I also believe with it Islam Makhachev. Okay, that's going to be the guy. He's going to get it done. I think Dustin Poirier will be successful this weekend and Nick Peet will be dressed like a total idiot on the next show. I can't wait for that. I do believe he will defend it against Justin Gaethje. He might even then defend it against Conor McGregor if the timelines allow that to happen. But when Islam Makhachev gets his hands on it, I think he takes it home and defends it and goes on another Khabib-type run and possibly becomes a GOAT.
Oof.
I'm going to say something different then. I want to say something different just to be a bit controversial. I think that maybe the timescale might just be... I'm going to say that maybe fights fall off, fights don't happen, and Makhachev will take it at the start of 2023. I'm going to say 12 months from now, the lightweight champion will be Justin Gaethje. There you go. And I'm not even going to give an explanation. I'm just going to say
well, we don't need one, do we? We don't need an explanation. He's the number 2 guy. Oh, who might be the next in line? Oh, well, number 2 is Justin Gaethje. He's getting the next title shot. We've reverse engineered how you picked that, Adam. Yeah, wow.
Brilliant.
The analytical mind, the complicated web that he weaves. Number 2 guy, getting a title fight. That's who we've got. We don't need an explanation, Adam. Any casual, any surface level guy, any person that just started training UFC at the local gym is picking Justin Gaethje in the next fight because he's number 2 and he's next in line, baby.
I've got to say, I'm really not enjoying today's show. I'm really not enjoying it. I'm just waiting for these guys to weigh in so I can put my laptop down and clear off. That's, but it is what it is.
If you give it, you've got to take it. You know that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I do, mate. I do. I'm taking my licks today. Let me tell you. At the start of next year, boys, UFC 270. We're getting the heavyweights. They're going at it. Hammer and Tongan dishing up a sensational fight. Prediction for Francis versus Gan. I'm going first. Gan, points, new champion. Done. Right, after you, Michael Bisping. Go.
Oh, listen, I got to be careful because I bump into Francis here and there. It's okay for you guys living out in England. You can say whatever you want. When I'm getting face to face with Francis and he sees this, it's not going to be good because I'm on board with your pick. I do think Cyril Gane on point, 5 rounds. I think he's going to take his time. He's going to be very cautious. He's got the faster feet. He's the better striker, and Francis does not have the wrestling to take him down. Yes, he can catch him. He can knock him out, maybe. But yeah, smart money, Cyril Gane.
Nicholas, full house?
Why have you left me to go last? Because I like to go against both of you, but even even I can't go against Cyril Gane. I've got to be honest. I think he's absolutely the future of the heavyweight division. I've thought it for a long time. He's just the next generation heavyweight. And if you're going to ask me who's going to be the champion at the end of 22 at the heavyweight division, well, maybe I'll get romantic about, maybe John Jones somehow pulling himself out of the situation he's in right now and maybe getting back to doing the one thing he's actually good at in this world. But yeah, in that fight in January, by the time it hits my birthday at the end of January, Cyril Gane will be champion of the world. Absolutely.
53, Nick?
26.
Yeah, no, good fight. Good fight. And listen. Francis is a guy that captures the imagination, and I love watching him fight, and I love the knockouts that he delivers. But when you look at Cyril Gane and the way he moves, and the guy can take a punch, and who did he beat in his last fight? It was Derek Lewis. What he did to Derek Lewis, another guy that can bang, another guy that can knock you out with one shot with ease. Made him look stupid, just outclassed him in every department. I think Francis will have a better fight, a better performance than that. But I think as the fight slows down, and we've seen Cyril Gane be patient in fights. He's going to be patient in this one. Yeah. He's got the speed to get in and out, in and out, in and out. That'll be the tail of the fight.
Yeah. We met him recently on our trip to New York, didn't we, gents? And he's an impressive guy, Cyril Gane. Very calm, very cool, very collected, impressive character. It's going to be a great fight. Listen, you're in for a treat. What a way to start off the new year with Francis Ngannou, with a brilliant narrative himself, taking on Cyril Gane, his old mate that he's denying that they're mates, but he's got a sensational narrative. It's going to be brilliant. What a great way to start UFC over the next 12 months. Now then, predictions for Fight of the Night. We've got Chris on social media coming our way. We're going backwards again. Nicholas, you're up first, my man. Predictions for Fight of the Night. You can only choose one. Go for it.
I can only choose one. Emmett versus Ige will be absolutely ridiculous, but you know what? I'm going to be super romantic. I'm going for the top of the shop. I'm going for Oliveira versus Dustin Poirier, the two best lightweights on planet Earth today, to absolutely deliver a fight of the year contender right at the end of the year. I just think when you get two guys who are as good as these two are, and they're so far, clearly the two best guys on the planet for me in this weight division right now, right today, I just think there's going to be fireworks. Neither man's going to want to, leave that octagon having his dreams completely shattered. And I just think they're going to leave it all in there. I'm expecting a late submission for Charles, but I think to get there, he's going to have to climb up off the canvas, beat the bell, you name it. It's going to be rock'em sock'em robots. It's going to be a cracker. So I'm going for the main event. I'm going for the lightweight title of the world. Oliveira, Poirier, fight of the night.
Nice. Mr. Bisping.
I mean, listen, I prefer to do a bit of homework. I prefer to look at these guys. I prefer to break it down and not be dazzled by the bright lights and the stars. And, look at the fights for what they're worth. Yes, they're not champions, Nick, but they still deserve our respect. And I, for one, cannot wait for the multiple failed Imanari attempts of Ryan Hall and Derek Minner. Of course, I'm joking. I am absolutely joking, and I'm right on board. I'm right on board. Charles Oliveira, Dustin Poirier, all day long. Two guys that are at the top of their game, two guys that are the biggest stars, two guys, and the atmosphere, the crowd's going to add to it. They're going to live up to the crowds. It's going to be sensational. It's going to be incredible. It's going to be a night to remember. And both guys, they're going to refuse to be beaten, and that's what's going to make it such an incredible fight. I can't wait for it. But Ryan Hall also rolling around the floor trying to grab someone's leg. That could be a close second. You never know.
I think you're both right. I think that main event is going to take some type of bonus. I'm going to go with Josh Emmett and Dan Ige. I think you nailed it right at the start there, Nick, by just flagging it up. Come on, man. It's guaranteed war and it's carnage. If you're into violence, you're getting violence for at least a certain period of time. Might not get the full 15 minutes. Someone might go over, but I think you're going to get something very, very special. I don't know how you boys are feeling about this, but I am quite romantic with those certain fighters and what have you. And I just think we just need another name in and amongst Brandon Moreno and Figueiredo. I'm going to dream big, and maybe Cody Garbrandt's going to roll it back and get something against Kai Kara France. Maybe something out of that fight will get a bonus. But I agree with Nick's first shout of Emmett Ige as fight of the night. Good shout. What paths to victory have we got for Augusto Saki and Tai Tuivasa It's saying there on the screen. Mr. Bisping, what have you got?
Yeah, well, this is a fight that's flying under the radar. I love Taito Avasa. I love talking to him. He's absolutely mental. In a good way. He's got such great energy. When he's in the octagon, the performances are always fun. And I think Augusto Sakai is going to struggle, to be honest. I'm just looking at his record here. Last time we saw him, he was knocked out against Rosenstruck, knocked out from Overeem before that. He hasn't got submissions particularly on his record. That would be one of the paths to victory because Ty's not an overly accomplished grappler. You know, he is definitely a guy that likes to do the work on the feet. He's very violent. He's got heavy hands. He's explosive. I think this is a good fight for Taito Avasa. I'm really struggling to see a path to victory. Of course, they're heavyweights, you know, and never underestimate anybody. Augusto Sakai is a big guy. He's a strong guy, and he's coming to win, and he's done a lot of work, and he's won a lot of fights. He's got a record of 15 and 3, you know, 15 and 3, but I just think he's going to be outmatched on the feet. I really do. I think Taito Avasa gets another performance, potentially performance of the night, definitely a bonus maybe, and we get to see some more shoeies that are absolutely disgusting. I tell you what, that's it. We can't trade shoes though. I'm like, that should be the bet. Everyone spits in a shoe and then Nick gets to drink it or I get to drink it. But isn't that just the most disgusting thing? I mean, drinking out of the shoe is bad enough, but everybody's spitting in it beforehand. There's no amount of money you could pay me to get me. I mean, there is, of course, let's be honest. But that is one of the grossest things ever.
Yeah, pretty awful. No shoeies for me this Christmas, disgusting. That's for sure.
Listen, gentlemen, just before we continue talking about UFC 269, I just want to bring up one of the British fighters who has already said that he's getting a knock on March 19th, making his UFC debut. We've spoke about him on the show before, and we waxed lyrical about him, Mo Mokaev. But according to him, Cody Durden is going to be the guy up first for Mo as he makes his UFC debut, March 19th, and fingers crossed that is going to be London. I just want to get both your opinions on the matchmaking of this fight, because obviously one of our colleagues, Ariel Helwani, was doing his show. Mo went on there as a guest, and Mo targeted Cody Durden. This didn't come by chance. It was Mo targeting him. Obviously, everybody knows what Cody has said on the microphone. I'm not going to go into it, but you know the crack. You know how we feel if you listen to any of our other stuff. Mo obviously targeted on that. A smart move from him, smart opponent for him, to be making his debut against Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not overly familiar with Mo yet, so he hasn't made his UFC debut. I hear he's got tremendous hype. I hear that he's potentially going to come over here and wreck shop and be on the path to a title pretty soon. But I'll be honest, I got to hold my hands up here. You kind of caught me off guard. Didn't know we were talking about unsigned fighters that aren't yet with the UFC. So I'm busy enough. I'm doing interviews. While you guys are lardy-darring it around the pool, having your margaritas and your drinks with your umbrellas and your straws, giving it your best Del Boy. I'm out here. I'm in the trenches. I'm talking to O'Malley. I'm finding out if Nunes will take that 130-pound catchweight fight. I'm seeing the weaknesses in Dustin Poirier. I'm giving the people what they need. Right. I'm not focusing on people that are not yet signed with the UFC. Sorry, can't do it. We'll pay-per-view.
We'll deal with the next generation then, yeah?
I'll pick that up.
Nick, over to you.
There you go.
Yeah, go on then, mate.
I'll pick that up. See this way the Hall of Famers had to go this week for the change. I'll pick that up, shall I? Yeah. But yeah, Mo Mokaev, 2-3-time IMAF world champion, junior and senior champion. You know, he's the first real generation athlete we've got from the UK that has gone through the amateur setup, the International Mixed Martial Arts Federation setup, represented his country, won it at junior, won it at senior, now progressed on, obviously based his early professional career out here in the Middle East. Now he's been signed by the UFC. It's super exciting for everyone involved in amateur mixed martial arts because he's the first real success story that proves that the IMAF Federation way is the way to eventually get into the UFC. And of course, we want everything to be as regulated as possible in this sport across the entire world. So Mo is a super athlete in that regard because he's very much a poster boy on the future of the sport as a whole. So for that reason, you know, the whole sport should be excited about it. On top of that, the boy can fight. This is a boy from Dagestan that's lived in Manchester the last so many years, trains in Wigan, trains in Liverpool, obviously in Manchester, goes back to Dagestan, comes over here to the Middle East. This guy travels and trains with everybody. He's got so much ability, incredible unbeaten record. And I tell you what, don't blink, because this guy will be competing for flyweight honors in the UFC before you know it. It's going to be a quick turnaround for him because he can fight, man. It's super exciting. And we're going to hopefully see him make his debut on March 19th.
Are you happy with that, Mike? Did you learn something then?
I'm blown away once again by the groundwork knowledge that Nick Peet has. Knows to the ground on grassroots knowledge, really supporting the people, the locals, the unknown stars of tomorrow, the diamonds in the rough. Nick Peet will find them, and I am humbled by your genius.
Don't turn him on me. Don't just because he's been having to go with you. Don't turn him on me. Okay?
I'm humbled by your genius. Mate, that was amazing. I didn't even know it was flyweight. I thought, is he light heavyweight or what? I didn't even know. Cody Durden. Guys, one track mind. UFC 269.
Big stuff.
Correct.
That's it. The big stuff. Is this you? Wasn't it your nickname here, Nick, on the old Twitter? The commissioner has got in contact with you. This is disgusting behaviour. You've got to be a proper commissioner if you're going to come on this show. If you can make one fight each for 2022, what would it be and why? Go whatever you want, boys. Any weight category. Doesn't have to be a title fight. Could be a title fight if you wish. Go for it. Do you want this one first?
You go first for a change. You go first for a change, Mr. Catterall. Mr. Catterall, let's let him go first, mate.
All right, then. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
On,
okay. I've said mine. I've already said it on the show.
Mr. Casual, not Mr. Catterall. Mr. Casual.
Look, oh mate.
Adam Casual.
We're having this next time, me and you. We're having it. Anyway, right. I've already said it on the show. The one that I want to see, I'm going to shy away from things that I think are going to happen, i.e. Leon and Kamaru. I think all these things are going to happen. I want to see Paddy Pimblett, Brendan Loughnane. I don't care what anybody says. That is, here in the UK, a fantastic fight between two lads, one from Manchester, one from Liverpool. They've got a little bit of banter from the past on social media. We've got Paddy, who's now burst onto the scene in the UFC, an absolute superstar. He's going to be a superstar. And we've got Brendan, who kind of is the guy that should have been in the UFC, but never really got here. This is the opportunity. This is the fight. This would be absolute flames. And I genuinely believe that if they put it on at UFC London, if we got it, it would deliver a bonus. It would be guaranteed fight of the night. That's the fight.
Fantastic fight. Really is. It's great. It's great. Out of all I think it's almost 600 fighters on the UFC roster. Some of the incredible storylines that we have, some of the star power, some of the narratives that we have. I think it's incredible that you choose a guy that's had one fight, and a guy that isn't even with the UFC. Never mind all these people that are putting it on the line every time, risking their lives to put on these dazzling performances, to wow us, to give us a show, to give us something to talk about. 600 people on the roster. We've got John Joneses. We've got Leon Edwards. We've got Conor McGregor out there. But no, I love Brendan Loughnane. Me and him, we squash that beef. We're buddies. We're exchanging text messages and DMs all day long.
Yeah.
But he's not in the UFC. Okay?
He will be in March, mate. He told me last night. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Anyway, there we go. That's the fight that we want to see.
I hope so. Breaking news. I hope so. But welcome to the UFC, Brendan. Have a great run. Do you know what? I'm giving you a hard time here, but this is a bit casual. But I'm really interested to see what Conor McGregor does when he comes back. Of course, he's a big star, and there's a lot of eyeballs on him wanting to know what the next move will be. I'm very, very curious. So I don't know if that's the best fight that could be made, or that's just the situation that I'm most curious about. Who does he get matched up with when he comes back? How's he going to look when he comes back? Is he going to go in at the deep end? Is he going to fight a Dustin Poirier if Dustin is victorious this weekend? Is he going to have a Nate Diaz trilogy? Maybe pick off a Tony Ferguson that looks towards the end of his career. I don't know. So I'm very, very curious about how that plays out. But John Jones, just get back in there. Come on, I'm dying to see what he does at heavyweight. He should come back and fight the winner of Francis and Cyril Gane. And I've got a feeling if Cyril Gane does it, then Jones will come back and fight him. I think maybe he's got this mental thing with Francis Ngannou, and I think with Cyril Gane, he doesn't seem quite as dangerous. I'm not saying he's scared. The man is not scared of anybody. He's been in there so many times. But I think if Cyril Gane wins, we might see Jones come in and challenge him.
Yeah.
Nick, what are you thinking?
Listen, I know we've just explained basically that we are hoping that the UFC follow through on their promise to Leon Edwards that he will fight Kamaru Usman next, and we will get to see that fight in the spring or at the very latest early summer. But the question is, if you could make one fight in 2022, who would it be and why? And I want to refer to the fact that Kamaru Usman is the pound-for-pound best fighter in mixed martial arts today. He is the guy at the top of the tree. How good is he? Well, I really want to test him. I want to know if he can become a two-weight champion. And I don't care if he's got this fake friendship with Israel Adesanya, because Israel Adesanya does not care about Kamaru Usman's legacy and vice versa. If you want to prove yourself as one of the greatest of all time, unfortunately, in this day and age, to push for that, you've got to do it in two different weight divisions, because there's half a dozen fighters now that have done it in two weight divisions. If Kamaru Usman's that good, if he wants to put himself in the greatest conversation, then I'm afraid he's going to have to go up to middleweight at some stage. And I think him against Adesanya, if they're both still champions at the end of 2022, would be a super fight. A super fight. So, yeah, I'm going for that.
Bow, 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 bow. Bow, 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 bow. No, I like it. You win. You win. That's it. That's the fight. I completely agree, Nick.
Yeah.
He's upset me now. He's upset me when he's won like that. That was a good one. Jose Aldo, TJ Dillashaw, just to finish. Anyway, right. Let's get back to the tweets that are coming in. Who wins? I mean, you've just mentioned Israel Adesanya, Nick. Wanting him in that super fight with Kamaru Usman, but it's looking highly likely that Izzy and Robert Whittaker will be going at it again, hopefully in the first quarter of 2022. Mike, same or different result?
It's almost offensive to Israel Adesanya to suggest that Whittaker will beat him after the way the first fight went down. Okay? Yeah. But I feel that Robert Whittaker went into that first fight maybe a little overworked, maybe a little stressed out with it all. He came in with a terrible game plan, and he came in maybe a little intimidated. But the Robert Whittaker that I've seen rebound, right, the fight against Darren Till, the performance against Kelvin Gastelum now makes me think that the fight will go different. Against Kelvin Gastelum, that was a beautiful performance.
Right,
I'm not sure if maybe I get a little biased because I'm there, in the UFC's recency bias, and I see it
Jeff Hands of Steel
with my eyes.
Neal.
Yeah, I don't know if he beats him, but it's going to be a much, much tougher fight for both men.
Just to pause there for a second, gents. Obviously, we've only got 20 minutes left of the official weigh-ins. Jeff Neal, we've been waiting for him. Here we go. The number 12 welterweight. Got to hit 171.
He looks massive.
Yeah, he does. He doesn't look happy either.
170 and a half.
Oh,
the official weight for the welterweight contender, Jeff Neal.
Didn't look happy for a second there, did he? Body language, obviously, not on par with him hitting weights. There you go. You got the fight. The main card now complete. Jeff Neal, Santiago Ponzinio in the welterweight division completes the main card. Everybody's come through on the main card. So you got your title fights. They're done, just in case you're just joining the show. Charles Oliveira, Dustin Poirier, Amanda Nunes and Juliana Pena. First four athletes through this morning in Las Vegas. Everybody else has come through on that main card. We're still waiting for Dom Cruz, which is interesting. Dominic Cruz, still waiting for him with 20 minutes to go. Alex Perez, Derek Minner, and Priscilla Cachera, which are all on the early prelims. There you go. What were we talking about before we broke off there, Mike? I'm sure that you were in full flow.
Mike had absolutely nailed Robert Whittaker versus Izzy. He nailed it. I am on exactly the same page. These are two of my most favourite fighters in the entire UFC. I'm desperate to see the rematch, but I agree with Mike. I don't believe that was anywhere near the best Robert Whittaker in the first fight. Yes, it was absolutely on fire Israel Adesanya. Do I think the best Robert Whittaker is good enough to beat an on fire Adesanya on that night? He probably may not have been on that night. We'll never know. But what I do know is that Israel Adesanya isn't the same fighter as he was in that first fight either, because since then, he dared to be great. He come up short. He got beat. He got embarrassed. And he's a different kind of animal now. So I think that there's so many narratives going into that rematch now that I think we've got to see it in the first part of the new year, because I want to know who the best middleweight in the world is. And I think those two guys are the best in the world.
Yeah, one thing's for sure. It's something that we need to see now. And this is what, for me, martial arts and fight sports in general is supposed to look like. You know, when a champion of Robert Whittaker's ilk does get beat, not always should they be getting an automatic rematch. They need to go away. They need to rebuild. They need to earn their stripes again. And he's given us fresh vigor for the fight, hasn't he? I think if we had an immediate rematch, we might have been sat there going, right, Israel Adesanya just do the same thing again. But now, because Robert Whittaker's gone away, dusted himself off, spoke about his troubles going into that fight, proved it as well in the octagon against elite level opposition. Now we're absolutely salivating at it. We're salivating at the fight. It's a fight that has to happen. It can't be anybody else in this division, can it, Mike?
Well, not only did it build up the hype and the anticipation for it, as you just mentioned, it's good for Robert Whittaker because he gets to go away and build his confidence again. You know, when you go out there and you get beaten by somebody like that, you get beaten down and you ultimately get knocked out, not once but twice, because he was pretty much done at the end of the first round, but he was saved by the bell almost, and he gets knocked out again in the second. That's an incredibly tough mountain to climb, you know, to come back against a guy that just did that to you twice, if you will, or certainly knocked you out, you know, straight back in there. Tough pill to swallow. He's gone away. He's rebuilt. He's got better. He's carried on working, and he's had some good victories, and he's got that confirmation. Hold on a minute. I've still got this. I'm still going nowhere, and he's still hungry to be the champion. And you see that when he talks, he's believing in himself, which is half of the battle. That's a big key to victory. Yeah, I think we might see Whittaker actually pull it off. I don't know. Just because of the Jan Blachowicz fight, he showed a weakness. If you try and shoot on is he out in the center of the octagon, you got a better chance of taking him down. Robert can wrestle. He's on the Australian national wrestling team. Of course, wealth of experience. He's fast. He's aggressive. He also hits hard. He just had a terrible approach in the first one, but he's going to learn from that because he's a smart guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, tremendous fight. A lot of people excited about it, and hopefully we can get it signed, sealed, and over the line. I think travel restrictions are just currently holding us back on various bits and bats connected to that, aren't we? Which is a shame because we don't want to be going backwards. We want to be going forwards and making even better fights because we've had a crack in 2021 and we're on something very, very special on the cusp of 2022. Anyway, this is your preview for UFC 269, the weigh-in show. This is an interesting question for you, Mike. Obviously, being an Analyst of the Year nominee, it's important to obviously watch film and analyze because that's what analysts do. How much film does Bisping watch? That's coming from It's Time.
Well, apparently more than DC. That's for blooming sure. Yeah, no, I watch a lot. I watch a lot. So, like, for example, next week, I'm commentating on the 18th, and so some guy was trying to schedule a couple of meetings. Are you open next week? I'm like, no, I'm far from open. When I'm commentating that week, I don't really have much time for anything else. We have the Wednesday, we have the fighter meetings. Well, not all the fighters, but a lot of the fighters come through. We talk to them about their training camp situation, thoughts on their opponents, what's new in their personal life, blah, 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 trying to extrapolate as much information as possible. But from Monday to Saturday, even to right before the fight, even when I'm in my hotel room on a Saturday morning, cramming before the exam, so to speak, I'm watching tape the whole time. The UFC do a great job. They send us a file to download. Every fighter on the card, it has their last 2 fights. Plus, I get on Fight Pass as well. Then they provide us with tons of documentation on stats, their bios, their history, their fighter attributes. UFC do a great job of giving us a lot of stuff. We've just got to put the time and effort into watching it all and absorbing it all. And yeah, it takes a lot. It is. I mean, I became a fighter. I was never very good at homework when I was at school. Surprise, surprise. In fact, I went through 5 years of high school, I think, without doing any homework ever. Wow. I don't know why I didn't go to university and become like a doctor or something. It's crazy. But to answer the question,
even Alex found that funny.
Right? A lot. And it gets annoying sometimes because I want to get on with my life, but you've got to do it. You have to watch them. You have to know them. And I was kind of joking when I said it, but it's true. I want to give the first fight on the prelims the same attention as what I would to the main event, because to them, it is a main event. This is their big chance. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah in short, a lot.
And myself and Nick can actually back him up on this because we spent some time with him in New York, and at that time Mike was also doing the Contender series, and anybody that knows, those guys aren't necessarily connected to the UFC. Therefore, that tape's got to come from other places. Very hard to find You should see Michael Bisping scouring the internet for guys that have been making a career in China and various other things. It's quite an amusing thing to do whilst I've had a couple of pints and I don't have to do it and I could just watch him and laugh at him. But he got the job done and turned up and delivered. Great. Well done, mate.
And then while you guys were just like, tripping the light, fantastic. Nick was buying new shoes. Adam was out there taking pictures, doing selfies galore. I had to jump on a plane, fly down to Vegas in the middle of the night, commentate, fly back, and then go on and interview Kamaru Usman. But you guys just be sat on your backside the whole time. Can
I just hold this and
shut up, John?
You get the big bucks.
Are we just listening to a John Anik conversation now? He's just taking over, isn't it? I like the fact that you thought we were sat on our backside. We were doing bits in New York. We weren't just like trotting around Central Park, mate. We were doing a little bit. You know what I mean?
No, I actually was trotting around Central Park. That is true. But I was interviewing Ian Gary at the same time. So I was working, but I was actually trotting through Central Park.
Hey, what a week that was, though. What a great week. It was great to get to connect with you guys and obviously Max and the whole team behind the scenes, etc. So I was devastated about this one with Leon falling off the card. Well, Masvidal falling off. And now London looks like it might still be up in the air as well. So come on, fingers crossed.
I know.
Fingers crossed, things will get back to normal. And not only us being able to get to more events, the fans as well being able to get to more events as well. As you can see, Priscilla Cachoeira is now making her way to the scales. There's 14 minutes remaining of the official weigh-in. She does. Let's see. Haven't had anybody miss as of yet.
Oh, she's a big miss.
The official weight for Priscilla Cachoeira.
I thought so. The look on in her eyes was not a happy look. I mean, of course, you might look focused. You're not going to be smiling back. I could read a look of concern from her. Because that's what I do. It's all in the eyes, baby. You know what I mean?
Well, she's a former bantamweight. She's a big girl. She's a big girl.
Still waiting for Derek Minner, Alex Perez, who are on the early prelims, and Dominic Cruz, still to see him. 14 minutes remaining. He's on the prelims, of course. Everybody's come through the main card, and we've got our 2 title fights there in the bank as well. They were the first 4 athletes through on the scales this morning in Las Vegas. And on that main event, Terry Bailey's got a question for you, boys. Is a submission the only way for Oliveira to win?
Is the former two-time
we'll take that
UFC
one
bantamweight
first.
champion
In fact,
of the world,
we won't take that first.
Ranked
Here he is.
Contender
Here he is.
present, the Dominator, Dominic Cruz.
Here he is. DC's DC.
Surprised he's weighing in this late.
Me too, to be honest. Me too.
135, the official weight for Dominic Cruz.
But he did it.
He made it.
That's the main thing.
He made it.
And he's off.
We won't be feeling very good, Mike.
It's not.
Yeah, I would have thought, to be honest, knowing Dominic, and he is a consummate professional, and he does obsess over being the best mixed martial artist they can be and giving himself all the best advantages that he can. He has a very cerebral approach to everything. I would have thought we would have saw him earlier. But hey, listen, that's the way it goes sometimes. I've had weight cuts that I expected to be terrible. I thought this is going to be hard tomorrow. It hasn't gone well. And then it just falls off. Like when I fought Rockhold for the belt on 2 weeks' notice, easiest weight cut of my life, and by far one of the heaviest I was. And then other times you go into it and you think, oh, this is going to be easy, and it just doesn't come off. So the body can be weird like that. And for Dominic, he might have done all the preparation, but sometimes it just doesn't go to plan for whatever reason. You try and control everything you put in your body. You eradicate the sodium and the salts. You take out the carbohydrate. You water load, which Dominic was doing. But still, hey, sometimes it's a tough day at the office.
Yeah.
Well, we've got 15 fights on UFC 269, and we're only waiting for 2 fighters. Alex Perez, who's taking on Matt Schnell in the flyweight division. That's on the early prelims. And Derek Minner is taking on Ryan Hall, also on the early prelims. Everything on the prelims and the main card is through, as are both of those title fights, which leads us back to the question from Terry. Is a submission the only way for Oliveira to win? Let's get to the answer. Michael Bisping, what do you think?
I think for anyone to say that would be kind of naive. And disrespectful to Oliveira and what he's done. He's stopped 8 of his last 9 victories or his 8 of his last 9 fights. Can't believe to get that sentence out, pardon me. But there's a few knockouts in there as well. And obviously just knocked out Michael Chandler. And again, I'll say it because it's blooming, I'm repeating myself here, but look at what Justin Gaethje and Michael Chandler, that war that they just had. And Oliveira was able to do something that Justin Gaethje wasn't. Justin Gaethje hits hard. He's got a great boxing. Oliveira knocked him out in the second round. He's got great knees. He's got great elbows. He's got a great striking game. So he could definitely knock out Dustin Poirier. Definitely.
Right, next athlete to weigh
of course,
in
submission,
the UFC's featherweight
more
division,
favorable,
Derek
the odds
Minner.
of that. But yeah, Nick, what do you say?
Completely agree. 9 career knockouts, and just looking at the performance against Chandler, that's it. If you press play for the 19 seconds of round number 2 against Michael Chandler, and then tell me he can't knock out Dustin Poirier. Of course he can.
He looks concerned.
Yeah, Derek Minner has just missed. I think he's just asked. It must be close because he's asked for something.
For the towel.
So I'm going to take my undies off. I'm going to lose the mask. Yeah. I'm going to breathe out. I'm going to spit. Give me that coffee cup. I'm just going to pee in that real fast. You know, the most annoying thing, because I've been here, you try to make weight, you're like, and they're like, go to the toilet, Mike. Go to the toilet. I'm trying. I'm trying.
146, the official
and you
weight.
Just can't breathe.
Fired up Derek Minner.
There it is. Those masks, man. Those N95s. They weigh a lot. They got the little metal clips. That's what it was. No, sometimes they're like, Mike, go to the toilet, try and squeeze one out. Drop the kids off at the pool. I'm like, I can't. I have tried. And then you step off the scale, and what do you need to do? You need the bathroom. And you're like, oh, come on. Happens all the time.
Funny.
Looks like that was a serious struggle for Derek Minner there, Mike, because the celebration that he threw at the end, even he thought that he might miss it. That was some celebration. Tough cut, obviously, for him overnight, and he's taking on Ryan Hall tomorrow.
The relief, Adam, you know, because there's multiple scenarios. One of them is because at that point you're so depleted of everything. You're so thirsty. You're hungry. You feel like you're on death's door, and you just want to rehydrate. A, because it feels good, because you're desperate. It's like you've been stuck in a desert. You're like, water. That's how you feel. B, because you want to give yourself the best chance of winning the fight. Right. And you don't want to give your opponent that psychological advantage. And if you don't make it, it means you got to go back to the weight cut process, or you're going to lose 20 or even 30% of your purse. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of consequences. Of course, he's still got a little time. He could go run on the treadmill, but that's the last thing you want to do. So yeah, of course you celebrate 100%. And there it is. He's frozen up there, Nick. Oh, he's back. He's back. Best he's ever looked, though.
There's his wife's pajama top. We can see it again.
He's in and out, up and down. Is that Dubai Wi-Fi? So who've we got left then? We've had Dominic Cruz, Derek Minner just weighed in. Who's left, Nick?
It's just Alex Perez. Last guy to weigh in. I think so.
Adam Casual. Casually coming back.
Yeah.
Oh dear. So what's the crack at 11 a.m. Pacific time? Of course, that's it. Wayne's done. No more allowed. We're done. Or if somebody misses, do they get a chance? Yeah, we got you back, buddy.
You're back, yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I urge you to give him.
I think it might just be me streaming to the world by myself. Yeah.
That's it. It probably will. It'll get to that point. But we've got what?
Well, guys, your Wi-Fi is failing us. You know, Adam's on an Ethernet cable. Adam is on a Wi-Fi. But we're almost done now anyway, boys. Are you back? Do you hear me? Oh, there we go. I think we're back in action. Adam Catterall, say something, please, sir.
No.
Don't leave me sitting on here by myself streaming to the world. They're like, Bisping's in the middle. He's professional. He's got, you know, sort of proper Wi-Fi. I spent a lot of money. I called them up. I'm like, listen, I'm going to be doing a show for BT Sport. I need the best possible Wi-Fi. I don't go gallivanting all over the place, just taking risks and saying, it'll be right. It'll be right. Crap Wi-Fi. Don't worry about it. It's fine. It's only BT Sport. No, it's not the attitude that I have. I'm a professional. I make those calls. I bring in the correct people, engineers and so on. Good talk. Well, there's John Anik. I'll commentate this by myself. John Anik's walking up and down.
One of the best fighters I've ever seen.
The lightweight division belongs to Charles Oliveira.
That was insane.
Just too good.
The best female combat athlete of all time.
One of the baddest men on the planet. Huge win for Pena.